Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I will always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is Thursday, January 31st. We have a great show planned for you tonight. We are doing part 2 of our series, The Forgotten Black Nobility and the Americas. Last week, we discussed the journey of the royals, how they ruled Spain and Spain/Iberia, and we also discovered how King James, which he's a melanated man, spelled his name instead of the James, it was Iames. And that is significant because in the Hebrew language, the letter J did not exist. Okay, and we also learned that King James, his nickname was Jacob. Okay, so that was just some of the things that we learned. So we're going to dig a little deeper into that, as well as we're going to go over the weekly news, because as usual, there's a lot of stuff jumping off. I do send out honor and respect to Brother James Ingram, the opening song that I played this evening. He had an illustrious career, although to me he was well underrated, a great R&B singer. He transitioned on Tuesday, January 29th. I was really, really fond of his work. I thought he was a great singer. So you just heard one of his songs, 100 Ways. Another famous one was with Michael McDonald, Yah Will Be There. He did a couple of duets. But a lot of people did not know that he actually wrote the song Pretty Young Thing off of Michael Jackson's album. And I did have the opportunity, the one and only time I had the opportunity to see him in concert was actually in LA at the Hollywood Bowl about 10 years ago. And just absolutely awesome. His voice was just as strong as it was before. So just sending honor and libations to Brother James Ingram, and thank you so much for the beautiful work that you provided to the family. And to the younger generation, if you are not familiar with this work, I would recommend just checking out a couple of his songs on YouTube. Very, very beautiful love ballads. So, growing up in my era in the 80s and stuff, we were into love ballads, and especially in the 90s. But James Ingram stuff was kind of popping in the 80s. So rest in power, Brother James Ingram. All right, then, family. I am going to bring on my co-hosts. I see them. I see Brother Sean and I see Sis. So let me bring on Brother Sean. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Boldness and power. I'm well. How about you?
I'm well, brother. Good to hear your voice.
Likewise.
All right. Let me bring in Sis Sandra. Peace and love, Sis. How are you?
Peace and love to you. I'm good. And how's the family, Brother Sean, and yourself? And the family.
Good. I'm good. Good to hear your voice, Sis.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So, of course, as usual, there's a lot going on. So before I go into my spiel with what I wanted to discuss this week, we'll go ahead on with the fuckery. Sis, did you have anything that you wanted to add or discuss with the family?
Oh, my goodness. This fake drama of a shutdown.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's for calling that national security emergency. He's going to close it down again probably and call that national security emergency because, China and Russia are knocking at the back door. It's not those Mexicans, because those Mexicans are dressed too well to have traveled all those so-called miles. And they
really don't talk about that no more. What happened to the caravan? Remember
I know that.
When they allegedly and supposedly on their way?
Yeah, and all that kind of foolishness.
Right.
All that is, and I really get sick of people not understanding the okie doke. These people dress better than I do. So therefore, if they dress better than I do, why they walk all those miles and all that dust and all that sun and come there with the hair all combed, the body's all washed? Give me a break.
Right.
It's just actors they pay. And they had one couple on there talking about they're starving and all that. The man had the biggest belly on the planet, and then he had a dog. The woman had a little dog sticking out of her back, and he had on a white shirt, by the way. The man had on a white shirt. You didn't just leave home. Your shirt would be filthy if it was just left home.
Right.
Yeah, grimy. And a little kid with him. I said, this is so much drama. And these people, I'm so tired of people talking about, oh, he did. I said, listen, this is a show. This is like watching a movie. They're actors. Stop doing that. I want to hear it no more. I don't want to hear it. But because, they're threatening Venezuela. Because Venezuela has resources. And this country
Talk about it, sis.
So Venezuela has gold, they have diamonds, and they have oil.
Yep, a lot of oil.
A lot of oil. They done moved the people off their homes to get those resources. And that's why the people are starving. Venezuela took American dollars and, for flights and all that kind of stuff and trade and all that stuff. But they they trade those dollars in Europe. So Venezuela went broke because they traded with American dollars. And that was the problem with Venezuela. I heard the whole drama on that mess. And so now Venezuela got all these riches, and I saw the geological reports on it. I did that. I went that far into it, too. And Russia has moved outside of Venezuela saying, don't do it, don't come. So the United States...
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
So the United States has a choice. Build that wall to keep Russia and China out of here. That's all it is.
Well, it's. I'm glad you brought up Venezuela. I had talked about that on my Facebook page earlier this week because people don't know the true history of the Venezuela. They're falling, like you said, for the okie doke with what they're putting in the media now about, the Venezuela president and this need to happen and that need to happen. They have been trying to get a hold of Venezuela's resources
a long time.
At least since George W. Bush Sr., at least. And Chavez wasn't motherfucking having it. He was not having it.
And he had enough nerves to come here and break bread with them and went home with poison for cancer. So, come on now.
Exactly. But Chavez went public and said before he got the cancer that he felt that they was trying to kill him.
That's right.
And so during one of the cold winters, I can't remember what it was, and I think it could have even been Detroit. Venezuela offered, and I'm not sure if they were able to do it, to give gas and oil to make sure that the people wouldn't freeze to death. So Chavez offered that. So what we're trying to say is, soon as Chavez died, Venezuela started being on the decline because it was two things. Chavez did not want to do business with them, and Chavez did not want to take on that dollar because it was Chavez, Hussein, and what's the other guy that they bumped off from Libya? Gaddafi. They didn't want it. Exactly. They were teaming up to come up with their own oil reserve, okay? Because they all, well, I do know Chavez sat on that OPEC oil board, okay? So we're saying all that to say it's the same fuckery and propaganda, and this is why I'm so strong about whoever sits in that U.S. corporation seat. I don't fully back none of them because I enter and overstand the game. It is all about them marching to the orders as the CEO of the corporation, what's in the best interest of the corporation. So this whole South America thing, the thing with Mexico and all of that, it was people on YouTube that followed the Venezuela things and things that happened in South America for years. They predicted that there was going to be conflict in Venezuela, and they were going to be talking about war and civil unrest. They literally predicted that 3 months ago because they entered and overstood the playbook of doing a resource grab for Venezuela. So very good call out, sis. Very, very good call out on that.
You know what?
Okay.
One more thing. None of these countries that they put in that media, Syria, Iran, Afghanistan, or Somalia, they done bombed some guy in Somalia. They don't belong to this country.
Right.
They don't belong to this country. So why are we there? It's just a question.
Exactly. It's all about resources. Yep. Yep. Very well said, sis. Very well said. Brother Sean, you have any go ahead on with the fuckery?
Miss Kamala Harris or Mrs. Kamala
Lord,
Harris.
yes.
Now, on the news.
First, can you explain who she is, just in case folks do not know who she is?
She's the Democratic candidate for president. The news described her as of Indonesian and Jamaican descent, and that she could possibly be the first African American woman president. Now, one of her parents is from India or Indonesia, and one is from Jamaica. She was born here, but how does that make her African American?
They so full of it.
They instantly gave her a label.
Slap that label
to
on
get
her.
Our people to follow.
Right.
And didn't Obama have a connection in Indonesia?
Indonesia, yeah, because when I saw you post that, I immediately went, okay, so now we dragging in more Indonesian folks, and you think that we falling for the okie doke. It's not going to happen. The plus side about that is because folks being burned by they're already out the gate slamming her background because she has a horrible background
she
with
connected
criminal
with all
justice.
the pedophilia stuff too.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, but I know they have been bringing up her record in regards to prison convictions and how she wanted to keep people locked up purposely. And I think this is out of Cali. Isn't she out of Cali, sis?
I think so. And Willie Brown, she slept with him, he said, and all that kind of stuff. And my son said that she was prosecuting folks for not sending their kids to school and all kinds of stuff.
Yep. So she's dirty out the gate. So that information is getting out there early. So she's not going to have much of a chance anyway. But they're just, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean. I didn't mean to take over.
Trump is the last president of this corporation.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I'm not fully backing any of them.
Right.
But this war between them, this shit is personal. I mean, the wall and everything. He said numerous times already, we're already building the wall. We have the funding for that. So he's letting people know that that's just a smokescreen.
But it's like they not even hearing what the man says.
Because people too busy in their emotions and hating him. Hating him for what? It's a corporation. Everybody keeps saying it. All these conscious people, allegedly, that's supposed to be awoke. Y'all hate this man, but you put your emotions into something and you're not paying attention to what's really going on because you're emotional. They're having infighting. Why do you care what they're doing to each other? Why not sit back and watch it?
Right.
And prepare yourself. Pay attention to what they're trying to pass through, because if he's taking them out, it's obviously about to be a new ball game. But as we keep telling y'all here, family, don't sign shit. We ain't a party of none of that shit.
Absolutely. Not interested.
They gotta go. So quit putting your energy and everything into that period. Pay attention to what's going on. Being worried about, brother, what's going on with these people that are not from here, and they are not the original inhabitants or where they're coming from. They know people that's just coming here trying to take from us. We already got enough motherfuckers here that we got to deal with. We all want to invite more motherfuckers. I mean, anybody that thinks that the wall that shouldn't be put up and them people should be permitted to come in, let them in your motherfucking house. Don't just let them float around and do this, that, or the other, or get a whole fucking community set up, and we ain't even got shit of our own. But worrying about a goddamn body else. They want to come fight at the goddamn border, but they won't fight for their own homeland. But they want to fight to come up in here. I don't get it. It's fuckery.
Yeah, it's all propaganda though. It's you know, using that same narrative with one against the other, while really not seeing what the true meaning of what's going on and what's really happening. And
that's behind all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like y'all pointed out how clean them people are, that's because Soros paid them.
Exactly.
They doing anything they can to destroy Trump. They trying to assassinate him, his family. They doing all types of shit. They're going all out. And everybody blaming Trump for everything that's going wrong, but it's the Democrats that's blocking everything. And they telling you that they doing this.
And I guess for me, again, just the fact that people have their emotions caught up in either side, because I've seen people on the melanated side ride with Trump like, you know, they're his best friend. And I'm like, you're still missing the point, bruh or sis. You're not supposed to be, just like you said, caught up in any of it. Just step back and look at the chessboard. Don't be on the motherfucker. Don't be a pawn on the motherfucker on the Democrat or the Republic side. You're not supposed to even be on the chessboard. You're supposed to be watching the game and calculating the moves on both sides. So, no, I 1,000% agree with you. 1,000%. And in the meantime, as folks are focusing on that, brother, were you complete with your go ahead on with the fuckery?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay. I don't know if y'all heard, and sis, this is in your neck of the woods. That goddamn PG&E, they have filed for bankruptcy. Now, PG&E out of California, that's the electric company. And
that's
they
right.
filed for bankruptcy protection because folks are coming after them for the wildfires, the California fires that jumped off because it was, quote, quote, reported, and I'm doing that in with my quotation mark hands, that because of faulty equipment caused those fires. Well, again, people not paying attention because folks clearly was documenting, and we're talking about Paradise, that town that got burnt the fuck down. People clearly documented the goddamn lasers burning the stuff up.
That's truth. I saw
Literally, I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
I said I saw it too. I saw the lasers. They had it on video.
Yeah, they literally coming from the sky, targeting stuff that they want to hit. I mean, literally, it would be a tree next to a car that got torched and a house that got torched, but the trees and the plant life were still standing. You had metal literally melting to the ground. Okay, so it was deeper than the PG&E thingy. And the lady, Deborah Tavares, you can look her up on YouTube, she predicted that they were trying to get to clear out land in California 2 years ago. She went to the board in California, and I can't remember which particular town it was. She went to the board and told them that that's what they were going to do, that these towns were going to be targeted, that PG&E was going to be involved. She went down, naming the board members of PG&E, and sure enough, what she said has come to fruition, okay? So now there's rumors that the reason those fires really happen is because it's a debt that's owed to China, and China owns that land, which we know none of them motherfuckers own it. The indigenous people own the land, and then you also have rumors that they are clearing out land in Cali because they want to turn it into farmland. And by the way, the land in Paradise, they can no longer rebuild on that land. Okay, so that to me kind of confirms what the lady was saying, that they was purposely trying to move people off of those lands. So the second rumor that's being floated around is that they're trying to move people off of land in California and turn it back into farmland, because China needs that land to grow food because of the current weather conditions that they're having. Okay, so they knew that these pole shifts was going to turn Eurasia, Asia, and Europe extremely, extremely cold. And I'm going to tell you how they know. Because now that's just one rumor about the California land. If you do a little research, and I've said this several times, China is over in Africa. They using a lot of that land for agricultural. And they also over there being nickel-ass slick with the resources too. But in addition, they have invested a lot of money into indoor spaces, growing food indoors, and also some of the barren lands, they have put a lot of money into trying to get food out of those also. Okay, so that's my go ahead on with the fuckery with this whole PG&E thing. It was used as the scapegoat for the targeted destroying of those California wildfires. Okay, it was predicted before it happened. The lady had it well documented, and she was right on the money. They did exactly what she predicted that they were going to do, playbook by playbook. So that's my go ahead on with the fuckery, because we have things like that that's going on in the Americas. You know, we have the weather that's out of motherfucking control, where they created conditions where it's an Arctic blast, but yet on Monday we're gonna be close to motherfucking 60 degrees. That don't that's not even logical. That's not even logical. So you would think that the populace would be focusing on these quote, quote, natural disaster tragedies versus this bullshit smokescreen of politics. Okay, so that's my go ahead on with the fuckery.
Trump had a conference today, and he was saying something about some deal with China. And he was saying, you best believe China is paying billions upon billions of dollars for what they're doing to our country.
That you better believe that they are paying billions and billions of dollars to what they are doing to our country.
For what they are doing to our country.
So who are they paying the billions to? Or is he insinuating that they're paying people off to do these things?
I'm saying that I guess the U.S. corporation merged with China in some way, shape, or form.
That they what? I couldn't hear
merged
you.
with China.
Yeah, that
China.
has been the
deals
rumor.
Going on.
Yeah, that has been the rumor for a couple of years now that China secretly owns a lot of things in the U.S. and meaning the banks. We do know that it's documented. It's been some years ago, probably about 4 years ago, that J.P. Morgan Chase during that crash had to come up with dough for China, and that's how they got that Chase building in New York. They had to give it to them.
They can take the building and fly the fuck over to China, put it on the boat, whatever.
Right.
They can take all the buildings that these people then gave to them. They ain't got shit to do with the land. They gave them the building.
That's right.
If they gave them the bill and they accepted it, and that means that they've accepted the karma and the debt. So that means they're all fucked too. So get the fuck on.
Right. Because the bottom line is, as we keep saying, and I could not imagine that China does not know this. Any of the lands, and I'm imagining this is across the planet or across Mama Earth, but we do know in the Americas that technically any of the lands cannot be owned because it's really held in trust, and it's in trust for the indigenous people. So that's why, just put you up on game, folks that are saying they are Native American, that's why they piss all over them and take stuff from them when they want to take stuff from them because they know they don't own the land. Okay, so it would really be foolish of China to be cutting deals with the U.S. Corp as it regards to land, because the U.S. Corp don't even own the land.
Right, but if you think about it, considering they're giving precedent to these quote-unquote Native Americans, which we know are from Asia, that's don't be China way of trying to make a claim to shit. That's why they keep on talking this Native American shit and keep trying to, override autochthonous or Aboriginal. That's why everybody keep on talking this Native shit. But, they'll say indigenous and try to tie Native and indigenous together.
Right. But it's not going to work because they can't prove it. We know what it is. So they can't prove it, and they could go on and sit down and have several motherfucking seats. And to be honest, the indigenous, and once we finish this series, it'll start making sense because the indigenous bloodline that's here today have claims here and over in Europe. And they know that. So, but I'll rest on that part. Go ahead, sis.
You know, I heard they were trying to, quote unquote, clear the land to return to the Native Americans.
I heard that one too. I heard that one too because Deborah Tavares said
that. She did.
That okay, now, thank you, sis. Thank you for that because she did say that they're going to claim that land is protected for the Native Americans. You're absolutely right. That's what she said in her research 2-3 years ago. You're absolutely right.
I heard her research before all this transpired.
Yeah.
I was listening to her there, and she was talking about all the ways they were trying to kill him. And I was like, oh, she knows. Yep, she knows.
Yeah, because I think I heard it about a year before those fires started.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So, which makes me wonder. No, she got that from some study that, and I would have to go back and look. But yeah, you can check her out, Deborah Tavares. She did a lot of work on that, so you can get a whole a better feel on that California thing. And I also know that in Detroit, and Dr. Blair talked about this before he transitioned. He put us on game that China had bought up a lot of land around Detroit's ports. And they were building a technology center. As a matter of fact, I think China owns that port. And he used to have on his webpage where it showed that it was written in Chinese, posted on the port, "Welcome to Detroit Port," or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, these are the things that people need to be paying attention to, because the corporation just didn't start failing. It technically has been falling ever since Nixon took the corporation off of the gold standard. Okay, so it was just a slow decline since then, and that's why inflation or prices have risen so high, or the cost of living is so high in relative to salaries. Okay, it's because that Federal Reserve note is literally just paper. It's backed up by nothing. So they knew that this time was coming. So again, the collapse of the corporation is definitely planned out. It is definitely a planned thing. And so now you have, like Brother Sean said, a lot of these corporation kingdoms behind the scenes fighting each other for the last hoorah per se, and probably pointing fingers at each other, playing the blame game as well. And so this is why we're so strong with the family to start changing your mindset of divorcing yourself from the corporation, because anything that you think they have to give you, they don't. Not from a monetary standpoint. If you are indigenous to the land, that is what is yours. It is the land, and it is the resources associated with the land. Okay? Now, what was supposed to be happening, they were supposed to be leasing to be here under whatever rules that the indigenous people set for them. So that means any buildings, any corporations, any business deals, stock markets, all of that, every piece of business that was done on these Americas, the indigenous people were supposed to be benefiting from it. Okay? So that's my go ahead on with the fuckery. Okay. Let me take a sip. Last week, I found something interesting right after we got off the air. And sometimes that happens, family. Sometimes I just don't even sleep. It's just so much research coming out. Because it was really a shocker to us when we talked about King James and recognizing himself as a Jew, and how he spelled his name with the I, because in the Hebrew language the J did not exist, and how he named his nickname was Jacob, which we know that is definitely a Hebrew name. And then we also talked about what the word, wait a minute, family, I got to turn my little light, what the word or the breakdown of the word Britain really means. And I should have remembered it from damn last week. Bear with me. Sorry, I'm going back to my notes. Do either one of you all remember? I'm trying to pull the page out of the book. Okay, and just to give a reference to the research that I was doing, shout out to the author Lee Cummings. He has wonderful work. This is from the Negro Question, Part 4, The Missing Link. And then I also use the Negro Question, Part 6, The 13 Black Colonies. And he has other work out there as well. The books are very, very affordable. You can get them on Amazon. And you talk about an easy read. You're talking 100 pages. So it'll literally take you a couple hours or a day, depending on how slow or how fast that you read. The brother did excellent research. I highly recommend it. So he was saying that, oh, I'm sorry, I got it, y'all. So I am, this is out of the Negro Question Part 4, The Missing Link. I'm just doing a quick recap so we can go into the next segment. So he was saying that Britain, as Brit, A-I-N, the two words mean something important. Get a concordance and look up the word A-I-N. And it is the suburb of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. And then use the internet to see what the word Brit means, covenant, in the original Hebrew. Okay, so just by the name Britain alone, that is a Hebrew word. They broke it up into two parts. First part is recognizing the tribes, Benjamin, Judah, it wouldn't even be Judah, but Benjamin, Judah, and Levi represents Brit, and then A-I-N means covenant in Hebrew, okay? All right, so I did just want to give the family a quick recap of that. So as I'm minding my business, what I come across, I can't make this up, Medicine Man put out a YouTube video, and I highly recommend that brother's work. He does excellent research. He literally put out a video about the letter J. Okay, the video is about 1 hour long, but I took a 20-minute snippet from it because that letter J ties into what we are talking about the Forgotten Black Nobility, and he's going to also trace that letter J into a lot of other things too. How it came into an existence, the letter J, etc., etc., etc. So I'm going to play a clip from that, but before I do that, here's Brother 832. Want to put something on it, so here we go. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Brother! Sandra! My sisters from other vistas! Feathers up!
Feathers up, brother.
Sean! My brother from another, I'm about to start saying Shaun of the Dead, throwing them thunderbolts down from Mount Olympus tonight.
Boldness and power, bro. Boldness and power.
You know, I had wanted to just tie a couple of things together with you, and that letter J thing that you just, I'll segue from that. You last week talked about Iames. IAMES was the original name of King James, what we call King James the First of England, and King James the Fifth of Scotland. In addition, the transliteration, as some would say, or the translation of what we call the KJV, King James Version of the Bible, that coincides, or whatever it is that you're sharing that Medicine Man is saying, it coincides with what we were told perennially, and now this nonsense with 2019, the 20 and odd African story that Dane is very purposely exposing and revealing to us. It's a parallel timeline. It's about 5 centuries. Now, the existence of the letter J is from the letter I and basically turning into a fish hook. And if you want, you might want to eventually get into the spirituality or the religious connotations of being fishermen, et cetera, and this whole thing that's used as far as the fish motif in Christianity, and how the Pope's hat looks like a fish when you really look at it. It looks like the mouth of a fish coming up out of the water. But I don't want to digress on that. I had really wanted to ask you to contemplate something as you all are talking, what you're discussing now about this black nobility. I know you're already aware of the Black Pope, who stands behind the throne of so-called white Pope. But when we have this discussion, and it came upon me just listening to you tonight, the term African, put that to the side for a second, but when we said, and I pointed out to you, in the Constitution, there was only 2 populations identified, and the more specific one is the Indians not taxed. Yeah. So Indians not taxed falls out of the jurisdiction of this contract agreement that we seem to have, holding us in our bondage. Okay, that's really the only thing that we should focus on. I mean, it's my 2 cents. My perspective is. Right. And the 20 sections of the original ratified 13th Amendment, where it stated very clearly that in Article 12, no descendants of Africa shall ever be citizens. Right. So no matter this bogus thing that we've got going on with second-class citizenship, and then, of course, the 14th Amendment, which is, creating this corporate United States, and I stress, United States citizenship, which has now been stretched to cover the entire planet. When I mentioned to you about Sophia, the AI, last week in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, extending her personhood, and then therefore granting her citizenship to the Kingdom of Saudi so that she can pay taxes. Well, okay, what do they say about the wages of sin is death, right? And what we told as young black children growing up, all you have to do is stay black and die. And there ain't but 2 things you will never escape, taxes and death, right? All of that was created off of our flesh. Sandra has pointed this out before about what was the original papal bulls written on, Sandra? The flayed flesh of human subjects. Yeah. I just ran across a video, a little excerpt thing. I can't think of the name. It's called Pyramid of Death. I forgot what the exact title of it was. But it talked about how the original papal bull, sometime back around in the 1300s, if you come across that in your discussion about black nobility, where they made a declaration of all human souls on the face of this earth were owned by the Catholic Church. Have you come across that in any of your studies, Sandra? Yeah. And again, these papal bulls, we're talking in the 1300s and whatnot, were written on literally the backs of human beings. That's right. Whose flesh was flayed off of So,
Kathy
I know I'm rambling a little bit here now, but I'm pointing about this thing. Whether we claim to be of African descent, or whether we factually reveal that we have some indigenous origins as Indians not taxed, as Sean has so eloquently pointed out, they have no jurisdiction, one. Two, no human being can lay claim to what supposedly we were made of. But we've got all these religious references, including Adam out of, biblical Genesis, was made from the earth, right? We used to have a little joke in our community, especially around the funeral sessions or whatnot, or, passing over and repast, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, hope your black ass don't rust. That's words to that effect.
Or if heaven don't take you. If heaven don't take you, then hell must.
So when we continue along this course and this journey, because life is a journey, it's not a destination, both of those stated existence of Africa, which is still suspect, Aboriginal indigenous inhabitants, fall out of the jurisdiction of the U.S. Constitution and the United States Corporation. The problem we have, and Sean continuously points this out, is fighting to get in it. Fighting to get in it. Please, Master, can I have some more, please? That movie, Oliver.
Right.
Could you polish up my shackle? I think it was Bishop Tutu said that, we've exchanged for iron and metal and turned it into gold with velvet casing. So it's become comfortable.
Right.
So when we have these discussions, when we're trying to come to some clarity here on what it is that is our existence, our true course, our destiny, individual and collective people, it is between or the combination of Indians not taxed and of African descent. Now, Sean, what would you suggest? Now, I know we're having speculative discussion here about a religious versus legal claim. Okay? Religion, as we already know, we break it down etymologically, a religion, is a false premise, but based on spirituality, it's put in a construct to keep us into this codified matrix, if you will, because that's always going to come up. The matrix and the construct is what's really going to continuously come up. But what is legal as opposed to lawful? Everything they're doing currently is illegal and illegal under the United States Constitution.
Right.
But it's unlawful. All of it is unlawful. They have no standing. I forgot what the actual Latin term was, juris, whatever, however you break down jurisprudence and jurisdiction. I believe Taj Tariq Bey or maybe Ras Mariah Bey was talking about jurisdiction only means right words when you break down the Latin derivative of the etymology. But we obviously are not using the right words. If at some future point, and I'll yield on this, what indigenous languages would we reveal and must then renew? An example of what I pointed out last week was that the Iroquois Confederacy allowed these European colonizers and outlaws to copy their document and turn it into the so-called United States Constitution. We're being convinced to believe, and that's where this Moorish thing is going to come up, that there were 7 Moorish presidents preceding the selection of George Washington, right?
Right.
Well, I will leave with this one point. There's still 3 groups of renegade criminal outlaws. The indigenous rebels, the dirty Moors, and the European Caucasian demons. Again, I say in parting, who is the Indians not taxed? And if they want to keep putting this out of Africa label on us, that might tie into what you're saying about showing that we have genetic ties from here to there. And Dane pointed it out about how our Aboriginal ancestors were actually physically transported to West Africa, and we don't have no idea how much of that genetic pool is based on that. And I yield.
Yes, very, very. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Peace and love, brother. I'm pissed because my video didn't upload, and then I went to try to upload it, and now it's gonna tell me it's too big. So you know I'm fired up. So I'm jimmying it up. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis. You go ahead.
I want to just point out something. I may get my head blown off for this, but when I was studying Hebrew and taking Hebrew, there were no vowels, no A-I-O-U's, vowels, until about 400 years ago. They didn't even exist. What they used to do when they were writing in Hebrew was use a horizontal line, 1 dot, 2 dots, whatever, to substitute for a vowel. But there was no vowels. So I know the J wasn't in existence, and neither were the vowels.
Yep.
So I just want to bring that up.
I heard that too, sis.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm gonna get this video together because actually this particular video and the name of it, I highly encourage everybody to listen to the whole thing. It's the letter J, the spell and corruption, and that's off of Medicine Man's YouTube channel, and it's only about an hour. But the segment that I picked up from it was actually right on the money what Brother 832 was just talking about, because I picked up out of the particular point on why they brought the letter J into existence, who brought the letter J into existence, and then he also went into the whole slave trade and colonization. So even I was kind of taken back because I had my calculations wrong from the time frame, because I assumed that Africa was colonized before the Americas, and that is not the case. Matter of fact, that's far from the case. So I was kind of with my mouth open, and it backs up what Dane was saying and what Sister Phoenix Moon was saying, Medicine Man, and a couple of other indigenous brothers and sisters that have been putting this information out, that the slave trade happened in reverse for the most part. Okay, exactly, from here to there. So not saying that there were not folks coming from Africa here, but it was more of people from the Americas, the indigenous from the Americas, being deported over to Africa. And so I also pulled, and I'm going to go over that while I'm trying to get this video to upload, the actual time frame that the colonization of Africa took place. And those time frames will just totally blew my mind. So bear with me here a second. Let me try to get this video uploaded. Yeah, you go ahead, Brother Sean. Go ahead.
If you look at the letter J, it's actually shaped like a hook. Something like the fisher of men. They get all different types of symbology in there with it. And going back to King James, who was also called Jacob, which is Yakub. So I guess he's also the big head scientist that the Moors claim and the Nation of Islam talk about.
Ooh, damn. Very good point.
That allegedly created these things.
Dang, I hadn't even thought of it like that, brother. That is a very good point. That's really a very good point.
He called himself that. That's who they attribute everything to. I mean, Yakub. I mean, you heard him hollering about Yakub, and then is Jacob, and the alien, and all this and that and other. I mean, after all, he is God, right? Ain't that what he wrote?
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he said.
He might as well be an alien too. I mean, why not? I mean, it's his world. He wrote everything. He got these niggas thinking what they thinking.
Wow. So if just for the family that does not get that whole Yakub, damn it, you hit that on the nail. You knocked that shit out the park. So Jacob, Jacob, if the J did not exist, we know that they substituted the J with either I or Y, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's where the Yakub is coming into play, which makes perfect sense. Can you explain to the family that's not familiar with that whole Yakub concept?
Yeah, Yakub, he's the one that allegedly created the white man by doing genetic research and skin grafting.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the one responsible for creating white man.
Absolutely.
I'm quite sure a lot of them know, because if they were followers of NOI, then they heard the stories of Yakub. And we know the connection between NOI and the Moors. So, I mean,
yeah, they all
the
studied
people
together. Right. And I guess that I'm just tripping because the shit was right in our face.
Yeah.
It was right in our face. And interestingly enough, and we've talked about this before, but just to refresh the family's memory, that whole Hebrew language, you can say that it traces to Sanskrit, to the hieroglyphics, and then you have to take the hieroglyphics back further to the first language or written language that they claim was on this planet, which that's really not even true, but was cuneiform. Okay? And I'm putting together a show. We're going to talk about that a little bit because I lined up that cuneiform, the hieroglyphics, and the Hebrew language. And you can see the progression and the similarities in the language. And it's just fascinating to see how things carry forward today out of those particular languages. And I was kind of cracking up specifically when you get into all of these Greek societies, the Kappas and the Alphas and the Zetas, what they really mean in Hebrew. It makes a lot of sense what the original intent of those particular words mean. Okay, so the cuneiform language is credited to the Anunnaki race. Okay, That's who that cuneiform language is. So that means that Anunnaki race was also responsible, fast forward up today, to the Torah, and then which translated into the Old Testament of the Bible. And Brother Wendell did an excellent job when we did the series on the Lost Book of Enki. I would highly, highly recommend the family read that book. And if you want to read it in conjunction with going back to the past shows, he really, really went in. And we literally took that book, the Lost Book of Enki, and lined it up with the Holy Bible, and you will see word for word when on some of the verses and passages out of the Bible, when they talk about Lord, when they talk about God, it coincides to those Anunnaki beings, to the Enki and the Enlil and the Marduks. So that's how deep, family, this entire thing goes. And that's why I personally harp on, and not that I'm trying to beat up melanated people, my quote, quote, own people, I harp on what I harp on, that we need to know who we are calling our brothers and sisters, is because folks have been buried among us as our own people, and that is not necessarily the case. You have to enter and understand what went on this planet, what went on Mama Earth, and the spells and the trickery to subdue the people on the planet in order for a certain group of people to rule. Okay, so that's just a snippet of that. I'm uploading the video now. Okay, so what I do want to bring up, let me check the board right quick. While I'm waiting for that video to upload, part of the colonies. Let's talk about the colonies in Africa. Bring it up. So let's look at some dates. All right, where are we here? And I just went to Wikipedia, family, to pull up where things were settled, and we can start in the United States. Okay. We could start in the Americas, rather. Okay, so New France. Okay, let's start with the Dominican Republic. They're saying from 1795 to 1809. And then, but they didn't say who had that. So I'm not sure who had that territory. So, I mean, when I say I'm not sure who, I'm referring to which European nation. Canada. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
I think that was France, because the Haitians got their freedom from France.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because right under that they say Canada and they say New France. So I'll go with that. They just didn't label it. So they're saying Canada from 1534 to 1763, France. Okay, so we know about the present day United States, but although we want to point out that the French had Florida, and remember, Florida was really a larger territory. You also had to include Louisiana in that also. Okay, but they do break it into two pieces. The French had Florida 1562 to 1565, and then they're calling French Louisiana. It was sold by Napoleon I, 1764. They had it from France had it from 1764 to 1804. Okay, so I guess Napoleon allegedly sold it, supposedly, in 1804. Louisiana, because that was only 23%, and I apologize, that was only 23% of Louisiana. Louisiana, New France, they're saying from 1672 to 1764. Okay, now anybody and the Moors in the Americas tell a great story regarding Louisiana. Chris that said that she had the deed to parts of Louisiana that came from Napoleon, that she wound up transitioning. She had wrote a book. I should know the Empress name. I apologize. So that story is interesting, but we do have a living source that has great history of Louisiana and including Florida, and that's Chiefess Warhorse. So you can go on YouTube and check out her work as well. Let me see. Sis dropped off. I just so happened to see her. There she is. Okay. You there, sis?
Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Thank you.
Okay. And I wouldn't have saw you had I not had this other computer up and I looked over. I'm like, oh, sis dropped off. Okay. All right, so that's the story on the Americas. Oh, Haiti. Let me see who else. Oh, Brazil, France, motherfucking stinking ass. 1610.
Don't forget Spain.
16. I'm trying to see if they have it on there. 1610 to 1615. Haiti, 1627 to 1804. That's still France. Let me see. Grenada, 1650 to 1762. And then they have 1779 to 1783. So I'm not sure if that's when British got involved in that. And then they have St. Lucia. They really chopped the Americas up. 1650, colonization started, and I guess different European nations were colonizing it. It was changing powers. Last change of power was 1803. So I'm not going to go through all of those particular Americas. But again, this is on Wikipedia. Go ahead on, sis.
You won't forget Spain, because Spain had Texas or New Mexico.
And you know what? Maybe they'll have it. They don't have Spain on here. So if you don't mind, I don't know if you in front of your computer. If you want to look Spain up, I just looked it up under how I researched it on Wikipedia is list of French colonies. And I don't see, it's a list of French colonies. I don't see Spain.
Spain was in the Alamo time in Texas and stuff, because the Americans were fighting Spain and the Apaches was fighting Spain and the Americas. So we were doing it all.
Okay, well, if you don't mind getting the time frame for that for the family, because I'm trying to make a point. That'll be great. So I'm going to go to Africa, family, and I apologize because this is really what I wanted to say, but that's good information to know too. Okay, so here we go. Now get ready because this kind of really blew me away, y'all. This is in Africa. This is French North Africa, Morocco. Now this is colonies, so meaning when these particular nations went over and colonized. 1912 to 1956, they had 89% of the current territory now called Morocco, Algeria, 1832 to 1962. Tanzania, 1881 to 1956. We have West Africa. Oh, yeah, thank you, sis. The empress name is Empress Verdice of Washita, Gaston El Bey, that has a claim in that part of Louisiana that she is the heir of that. Thank you, sis. All right. So West Africa, Ivory Coast. What F do they mean by Ivory Coast? I'm sorry. What are they?
That's on the West Coast.
Yeah, that's like in the bottom part, in between Liberia and Ghana. Okay, so that's what they're calling the Ivory Coast. That was colonized 1843, 1960. Okay, now just look at those dates: 1843, 1960. Dahomey, now Benin, 1883, 1960. Sudan, now Mali, 1883, 1960. Niger, 1902, 1904.
Oh.
Guinea, 1891, 1958. And I don't even know how to pronounce this one, y'all. Martiana, 1902 to 1960. Okay, Senegal, 1677 to 1960. Nigeria. Now this is what's gonna blow y'all the motherfucking away, and this is why it is, because most folk that take them bullshit ass DNA tests, you're gonna come back with Nigeria on your shit. You're either going to come back with Nigeria, Sierra Leone. Those are the main two, okay, off of the coast of West Africa. Nigeria, territory under a lease of 30 years, 1900 to 1927. Gambia, 1681 to 1857. Oh, damn, y'all. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
Under lease for 30 years.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Ain't that some shit?
Sounds like a corporation to me.
Yeah. Ain't that some shit? In which they did. I forget the name of the corporation. I think it was like the Delaware something corporation.
Oh, yeah.
That put together some things to ship some of the indigenous folk from the Americas over there to run those particular colonies. But the fucked up part about it, you had indigenous Africans, and it wasn't called Africa probably back then, but you had indigenous people on their own land that they were trying to do the same thing that they had done in the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the war and all of that broke out. A lot of folks died of diseases, et cetera. But yeah, so whoever motherfucking struck a deal for a 30-year lease, that's deep to me. And just so you know, in China and also Japan, their land, they lease their land. So meaning no foreign entity can come in and own their land or their resources. It's all done by lease. And I think, some of their leases are like 100 years, because recently they had a particular territory from Britain's motherfucking stinking ass that had just finished a lease up, and it was like a 100-year lease, and that was based on the opioid wars that they had worked out that deal. So, but
the motherfuckers here. The motherfuckers here only supposed to have been here on the damn lease.
Absolutely. Abso-motherfucking-lutely.
It broke the lease and stayed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they know that they're under a violation. They know it big time.
I've always wondered why Russia and all these countries that colonize the Americas don't raise hell against the United States of America for taking their part of it and holding it and won't let it go. And that may be what China and Russia is about to do, because how did they participate in our takedown and yet didn't get nothing from it?
They did get something from it.
Exactly.
What?
They got the land. They got the lands that they got now that they took from Aboriginal people.
That they took from the
indigenous. I'm not talking about old Russia. I mean, I'm talking about here, because they were participating.
The thing is, it all took place at one time.
Exactly.
They took down all the continents, all the Aboriginal people at one time.
Yeah, yep. I know.
Like
but
a whole
they
world reset. And just like how Brother Kalak keep talking about how the Sky family go, how they positioned every place, and this, that, and the other, ain't going to take them but an hour to wipe them out. Because they all going to be hit at the exact same time.
But what I'm talking about, the conflict that's brewing now, is because China and Russia and the rest of them who helped take America.
All of them the same people.
Okay.
Feel what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying,
but that's the bottom line. They all trying to hold on to their shit.
They trying to hold on to America, but they
trying to hold on to the planet. Period.
Okay.
They trying to hold on to Mama.
So, but I 1,000 agree with what Brother Sean was saying, but sis, what point are you trying to make so I can
what point is
your position?
China and Russia are in conflict with the United States because China needs this country and Russia is going to need it too. So Trump is building that wall to keep Russia and China out because they didn't get any part of the breakup of the Americas that they helped take down. This is what I'm looking at. When I look at what Russia was a participant in this takedown, and all these other European countries were too, but nobody has a foothold in this place but this U.S. government. That's what I'm saying. So they,
No, go ahead. I want you to finish.
They've been cheated out of billions of dollars. China and Russia have been cheated out of billions of dollars because they were buying our bonds and they thought they had a hold to some of those bonds, and then now they've been dumping those bonds. They've been dumped them off in Australia, offshore, China did. So China and Russia, participated in their takeover of this part of the U.S., the Americas, but they didn't get anything out of it. And that I think that's one of the things that's doing with them now.
Okay, got you. I understand your position. So you're talking on the commerce side. So all of that fuckery that they were doing, bonds and the stock market, it's worthless. So meaning they can never really get paid out for what they have given the U.S. corporation. I 1,000% agree with you, but you know what? And I know you're not siding with either China or Russia. You're just stating why you're stating why they're pissed and why you feel Trump card's trying to keep them out because of the commerce. So, in other words, family, it's a bad motherfucking business deal. Okay,
exactly.
So it's like they got beat out of something. They've been holding this worthless paper, and now the U.S. Currency ain't worth a goddamn. And to top it off, they can't get no resources, meaning nothing out of the ground. They can't own any of the land because the indigenous people own it. But you know what? Now this is my thing. Good for all of them motherfuckers. Good.
Exactly. But they about to do battle with each other because of it. I think that the battle is really brewing between these factions because the United States has taken all of it from them.
But you know what? The thing of it is that if they did not know that they wasn't going to get anything tangible out of all of those bonds that were being created, then shame on them. They should have known. They all in the same, at the end of the day, they all in the same club because it's the same empire.
Right.
As Brother John was, saying. So it's the same empire that went across Mother Earth, colonizing the planet, snatching the land from the indigenous people, setting up these corporations, and playing this paper game with each other. And using the people's labor as commerce. So now that the chickens have come home to roost, they got a motherfucking attitude with each other. Who gives a fuck? And that's why Brother Sean said to sit back and not be concerned about the corporations fighting.
No.
Yeah, we don't give a fuck.
Putin is a master chess player.
Yes, he is.
He don't have the central bank in his country.
Nope.
He knows who's doing what.
Yep.
Now, I mean, people say all this about them being mad at each other, this, that, or the other. Try and take your ass over in Antarctica and watch them all simultaneously blast your ass in unison.
What you say? Step your foot across that uncharted border, and
they all there side by side.
Fire you up. Yep.
They all there side by side, drinking together, partying together, everything.
Yep.
But you can't mean to tell me that they ain't looked up in the sky, like they don't see all them ships up there and this, that, or the other.
They rushing over.
And you think that they're really about to go at each other like that when they can't launch no nukes, this, that, or the other? Because videos all over YouTube to show you times when they try and launch shit, a ship come past, hit it with a beam or something, that shit just don't do nothing.
Yep, that's what they say.
So, I mean, that's another distraction. That's something else for you to worry about.
No,
I understand. I heard all that too. That's why Trump bringing all the troops home, this, that, or the other, to defend the southern border, this, that, or the other. But the real reason behind the corporate shutdown, because governments don't shut down, corporations do.
Corporations do, right.
It's so that they can handle in-house business. They got these military tribunals going down. They doing everything they can to try and get a new deal cut.
Yep.
That's why everybody watching what's going on here. They figure if Trump is able to pull it off and somehow find favor with the sky people, that, they ain't good. But Putin, he didn't already tow his ass with them because they already over there fighting them.
Oh, yeah, he kept shooting them down and back manufacturing their equipment. That's how Putin got back.
So they say.
Right. But I was responding to Sputnik or RT News about 2 or 3 years ago, where China and the leader of China and Putin were together and discussing how the United States had cheated them. So that's where I got the information.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you were saying. That's why I wanted you to continue to make your point, because yes, that is what happened. But there's the bigger picture to it, because the bigger picture is all of this shit is being shut down forcefully. Yep. So it don't matter who traded what piece of paper to whom on what day, what you claim, I owe you, or all of that. And like I keep saying, and I'll say again, let them stand out and tell the motherfucking sons that, and tell that plasma that. And explain it to them what somebody allegedly and supposedly owe they monkey asses.
But what I'm saying is the bonds that they supposedly were mad about is our papers. And they said they didn't know who we were, but now they're finding out who we were. But they were buying those bonds from this government, our papers, our slave papers.
Right. We understand that, sis. I truly enter and understand that. But I say again, good for them. And if they didn't know, which I highly doubt that they did not know. I highly, highly doubt that they did not know. But if they didn't know, so the fuck what, and still good for you. They knew they were in on the Ponzi scheme, and they was kicking it motherfucking up, living good off of the indigenous people on this planet's back and labor. So I don't have no sympathy for them motherfuckers. They knew that this age was coming. So they
I'm not having sympathy for them either. But what I'm saying, Russia told them in 2012 that their time was up and they had to defend this planet. They told them that. So they know the sky people were coming. They knew this stuff was going down because Russia had put it out there. But a lot of these countries ignored Putin when he put it out there. So that's where they are. They're going to unite to fight. Oh, they're going to unite to fight, not each other, but the Sky family.
They're already uniting to fight.
Yeah.
They're already. So what they're doing is, like anybody else that know they cannot win a war, they're trying to strike up a deal. So they're offering up their own people to say, no, see, this motherfucker here, he did this on this date from this time period, and none of that shit is going to work. Pack your motherfucking bags. That's what you do. Pack your bags and make arrangements for safe exit out of the motherfucking realm. Otherwise, get ready to get your medicine and you explain it to the motherfucking suns and the plasma in the ground and the plasma in the sky. Because we don't even need the Sky family to take them out.
No, Mother Earth is doing it.
The planet herself is going to take they stinking asses out. And anyone else that is not in harmony and that feel that they can misuse, abuse, and own. Stand out and explain that to the motherfucking elements. About your paperwork, your bonds, your this and that, your lineage. Explain it to the elements. That's what I want you to do. Explain it to the motherfucking magnetic poles that have split.
Yeah.
So that's what they're not talking about. They only talk about the poles and, them finding exoplanets in the sky. They only talk about that in snippets. But they want to keep the corporation shit front and center because it's an illusion, and it has always been an illusion. So I say good for their asses. None of that is my motherfucking problem. I don't have nothing to do with that corporation. I ain't agreed to no motherfucking corporation, none of that. So they take their medicine. So good for they stinking asses. Okay, so just real quick, and then we're going to get into the video. I finally was able to upload the video. Y'all, but check this out. Gambia, I can't make this shit up, y'all. There is an island called Kunta Kinte Island.
Oops.
Yeah. What's his face, fraudulent ass. But that was in 1695, 1702. And I'm just trying to pick. Yeah, Alex Haley. Madagascar. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
If you ask me, what China got to be upset for about not getting a peace? Seems like they got a great peace. In every fucking state, you got a Chinatown. These Chinese shops making how much off of sisters?
Well, China got most of California, so
well, that's what I'm saying. They own America. Right. It's some of everybody over here. But you can't go to China or Russia and find Indian Town, Niggerville.
Exactly.
The hood.
Yep. I agree.
None of that shit. But everybody got a place over here. You got a little Mexico. You got a little Italy. You got a little every fucking thing over here.
Yep.
And they got the big ones to go back to. So, I mean,
and not to mention, wasn't China in cahoots with the corporation to create the race of the native people, who they call it Native Americans? Or am I motherfucking missing something?
They're all in cahoots.
Exactly.
Exactly. What they say, Caucasian, Asian. Caucasian, Asian is in Caucasian.
It sure is. That's why I say Eurasia.
Right.
They're not melanated beings, any of them. And all of these lands gave birth to melanated beings.
Beings, right.
So whatever game, this is a big chess game.
Yes.
Period. So as long as they keep us distracted, we ain't doing what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And that whole thing about them owing each other money, this, that, and the other, they knew this whole thing wasn't about money to begin with.
Yep, they sure did.
But as far as for them and U.S. bonds and this, that, and the other, all that was all part of the petrodollar thing. That's dealing with the central bank and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, who now everybody is sick and tired of.
Right. And who they going to try to throw up under the bus.
And not to mention they dead anyway, so everybody's like, fuck it, we ain't got to be scared of them no more. They dead.
Yep.
So fuck it,
I keep trying to tell people
grab.
they are. Exactly. I keep trying to tell people they are. Absolutely.
And we sitting back worrying about it. And we sitting up worrying about it. They talking about anything up for grabs, but it's all ours to fucking begin with. And we watching everybody else grab instead of slapping motherfuckers in their place and saying ain't a goddamn thing for you to reach for.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, this was about an empire that, like I explained last week, when these folks that are claiming themselves to be the original Jews, as they were conquering lands, they were bringing people on board to their empire. Okay, so they at one point were really, really connected as one empire. So that's what you have these new folks talking about, this whole Tartarian thing. But you could really look at that as the Moorish Empire or the Moor Empire. Okay? But it's the same ideology. Okay? It's about this empire that colonized the planet. And now, as the planet, Mother Earth, is shifting into the higher vibrations, these particular empires and kingdoms are falling. Okay, so of course they're going to put up a smoke screen about the recent shit, which is the peddly ass corporation. So us as indigenous people, again, I say again, our focus should be the land, the minerals and the contents on the land. We are the rightful caretakers of the land. That's what we should be focusing on. The rest of that bullshit, that's their corporate and empire shit that's falling. And yeah, they do want to cut another deal with somebody somehow, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because the good part about it, even if you had corrupt, and which we still do, have corrupt indigenous people ready to turn the shit back over to them for some trinkets, for some paperwork, for some fiat, it's not going to happen. Because whoever's not in balance, you have to answer for it. Okay. So, again, you all can go to Wikipedia and, again, look up the French colonies. And as you can see, those dates, there were only a couple of the dates in Africa that even coincided with the colonization dates, even close to when the colonizations happened in the Americas. Their colonization were after the fact.
Spain was 1492 to 1832.
Okay,
and they
so
finally
that's
gave
when the
it up.
Moors ruled.
Right. They finally gave it up in 1898. I mean, just before the 1900s. That's crazy.
Okay, which would make sense. What we read last week when they were talking about that the Britons left up out of Spain to go into what we're now calling England and Britain. So that makes a lot of sense, and that lines up with what the Moors are saying, that the Moorish Empire ruled Spain for 700 years. And that today's Spain Empire, they're also responsible for mixing and breeding with the indigenous people. Yeah, as well. And not sure if I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
But then after we had the battle of them, and the United States Corporation eventually got all of them out of here, and we had all these hundreds of years of Indian wars.
Yes.
Fighting the corporation.
Yep.
Majority of the corporation's history and existence has been fighting us. And our people proudly serve them and will kill you about that.
Yep.
From the walls of Montezuma to the floors of Tripoli.
And they have to learn a history of what they're into, but yet they ignore it.
Exactly.
And
they don't listen to words.
Majority of them that have been abroad killing people innocent people. And a lot of our brothers and sisters that came back, even going all the way back to Vietnam, and admitted that they was killing people that looked like them. Complexion.
Sure did.
Anyway.
Sure did. Absolutely.
The shit that they were showing on the news and on these movie reels, these black and white films of these wars, you very seldomly see anybody get killed. Like everything is properly positioned, this, that, or the other. I mean,
yep.
I don't know. It's some bullshit going on. It's been going on.
You're right, brother, because in and I see you 678, sweetheart. I'm coming to you. In Brother Lee Cummings' book, The Negro Question, Part 6, he does a chapter, and I'll dig it up while I play the video. He does a chapter on the war with Japan and how the indigenous people in Japan were not with the fuckery. And so basically the point he was trying to make was that the indigenous people all the way up to that point was still predominant in that part of Asia and held power in that part of Asia. And my mouth just dropped totally open. So it shows you the systematic bumping off or kicking out of power the indigenous people that has been going on for hundreds of years across the planet. And in the book, he was saying that that's what George W. Bush Sr. meant when he was saying the New World Order. It was about kicking out of power and seizing the lands of the indigenous people across the planet. That's what the master plan was. Okay, so very excellent point, Brother Sean. Let me go to 678 before we get into the video. 678, your line is open.
Peace, family.
Peace.
How y'all doing?
Well, how are you?
Doing good. I always catch the YouTube, but I never caught a live, so I'm excited to be on the call today.
Oh, excited to have you here.
I don't even know where to begin with the fuckery.
It's so much.
It is, and I've been listening for a while now. I've been, listening to Hindu and hoodoo, whatever you want to call him. I've been a victim of the paperwork fraud and getting your nationality card and don't drive with a driver's license, but you might get pulled over and put in jail. Bullshit. It's just there's so much out here and so much confusion. And as a millennial, that's what I say I'm a millennial because I want y'all to know what generation I'm coming from.
All right.
We don't know what
I'd love to hear that.
We don't know what the hell is true.
Right. And it's
true.
done purposely. Purposely.
Oh, my gosh. And then we are forced to mess with the U.S. because we don't really have no choice. Like, our parents didn't set nothing up for us because they were lied to. Our grandparents are, part of the generation that was, messed up with the heroin and the crack epidemic, and it's so hard.
I know, sis. I know. But good thing is coming to an end. But you, as indigenous to the land thing, they know who you are, and they outline how they are supposed to be interacting with you with that ADRIP document. They clearly outline how they are supposed to be interacting with you with that ADRIP document. But we, as indigenous people, we don't know who we are because it's been so many psyops run against us. Oh, you a Moor. Oh, you a Jew. Oh, you a African. Oh, you a Hebrew Israelite. You everything but indigenous to the land, which is done on purpose to separate you from the land. And like Brother Sean said, as everybody else is kicking it and benefiting off of your shit. And in the land getting sicker and sicker, and us as indigenous people weaker and weaker because we have separated ourselves from the land and putting the focus on trying to get something from an illusion, which is their corporation. So you, as an indigenous person at this time, all you have to do is know thyself. Know who you are, stand firm in who you are, and just make sure you have your heart and your soul right, because now we are in cleanup time.
That's so true. I'm out here in Nevada. I moved from Georgia, so I'm out here and I'm seeing all kind of shit in the sky.
Yeah, I heard it's off the chain in Nevada. Wow.
That's the Four Corners.
Have y'all say that again, sis?
That's part of the Four Corners: Arizona, Nevada, and what's the rest of it?
Ooh, yeah, sis. That's deep about those four corners. Explain to her what that four corners mean.
Well, that's that Area 51 out there where they shot down Roswell, New Mexico, and stuff like that, where they shot down the first spacecraft under Eisenhower in that stuff, and they have underground bases over there where they
just received a bunch of plutonium. Not to cut you off, sis, but there was something. I don't know if y'all ever heard of W7. But he put out something about they just received a bunch of plutonium that got shipped from South Carolina over to that area.
Ooh.
Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. That's why I'm highly recommending this Medicine Man video. Y'all going to be blown the fuck down, because in that Medicine Man video, it's called The Letter J, The Spell and Corruption, off of the Medicine Man channel. He's going to show you what those four corners really mean.
Mm-hmm. I need to write this down.
Yeah, I'm telling you, y'all, that video was fire. I was up to like 4 a.m, just with my mouth hung open. And I had to let them know, bruh, you laid this out. Again, it's called The Letter J, The Spell and Corruption. And that's off of Medicine Man. He shows you what those four, none of this be by accident, sis. I didn't even bring that four corner stuff up, and you brought it up. He's going to show you what those four corners mean, and it ties into the indigenous people, and it ties into the black nobility stuff that we're talking about tonight. So I highly, highly recommend the family check out that video. It's think about an hour, and he shows a lot of visuals. So of course I can't played visuals on the air. Very, very powerful information he dropped in that video. But thank you, sis, so much for calling in. I'm glad, and I love to hear when millennials are listening. Just hold on. Just stand fast in who you are, of being indigenous to the land, and try not to get yourself caught up in any more fuckery with the contracts and the okie doke, and you're gonna be good. You'll be good.
All right. Thank you so much, y'all, for everything that y'all putting out here. All the research that y'all do. I love y'all so much. I wish I could wrap my arms around y'all and give y'all a big hug.
Oh, thank you, sis. Love you too, and right back at you, sis. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Wholeness and power, sis.
All right. I'd love to see or hear about the millennials getting into the correct information, because it's important. Because they don't need to repeat the same motherfucking mistakes.
Yeah.
That, my generation, the Generation X, have done. And unfortunately, that some of my generation have put up these schemes and scams and are still doing it. The shit's not right, but folks will be held accountable for that. And that's why I'm so strong with melanated people, for us to open our eyes and stop putting everyone in the same category. Because just because they are of copper color hue or of dark black hue does not mean that they have your best interest at heart. And it's not rocket science to figure it out. Anybody that's divorcing you from your identity or your heritage based on what your family told you does not have your best interest at heart. Okay? You are responsible for self, knowing who you are, and to the best that you can, passing that knowledge down to your particular bloodline and family. Your roots and your concentration and your focus should be on self, keeping your vibrations high, and being a caretaker to your land, to Mother Earth, to the planet. Okay, so we are coming full circle with this. So just hold on, millennials. Try not to get your pockets drained from the fuckery with the chasing the paperwork and all these dead-ass promises. Just hold on, do research on your lineage, talk to your elders as best that you can. This shit is going to be cleaned up. So thank you for that, sis. Okay, let me play this video. Damn, time be getting away from us, y'all. Go ahead, brother Sean.
I just want to say something to the sister just called in. I understand when you're dealing with family members who may not have been aware, but you are awakening now. So, in the way the baton has been passed on to you, you have to break the cycle. Been passed on to you. You're receiving your calling. That's why you're here. The fact that you're able to recognize that they've given you the wrong information lets you know that you are on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be as difficult as you think it is.
Right.
You got to do some internal work. Everything you need to know is within inside you. So quit looking outside yourself. You just got to remember. You know it. You just got to remember it.
Yep. Indeed. Okay, now I'm getting pissed because I just heard the video, and I'm might have to see if I can play it from this other PC. I just had it show up. And they just determined they want to keep effing with me with this little video. But that's how fire that video is, family. It really is. The brother laid it out. I was like, wow, how timely. Okay. All right. So here we go, family.
All praises to the Most High, the creator of creators, the framer and the shaper of all. I had a few requests for me to verbalize some of the information, and I wanted to go ahead and start by going in on the origin of the letter J in its addition or recent addition to the alphabet. This construct was actually introduced into the alphabet recently within the last 500 years. But before I go in on it, let me show you something that I came across. Here is an ancient map of America, not Jamaica, America. This shows you that before the letter J was introduced into the alphabet, that lands and words that now are corrupted and basically given a different meaning were usually beginning with the letter I. Now this is Jamaica, Jamaica, and you see the Negretto, and we know who those people are, or what classification they fall up under. Okay, so let's see. Letter J, as we see, looks like a variation of the letter I with just a hook on it. Now, going into the history of it, says that Giorgio Trissino was the first to explicitly distinguish I and J as representing separate sounds in his Escola del Trissino de la Letteria Nuovamente Aggiornati nella Lingua Italiana in 1524. So, the letter J was first distinguished from I by the Frenchman Pierre Ramus in the 16th century. Okay, so now we see that we have the person who explicitly distinguished it was Giorgio Trissino. And the person that's credited for inventing it was a Frenchman, Pierre Ramus, and this was in the 17th century. So you see the difference in the centuries of origin, 1524, and here we have the 17th century when it was really popularized. Okay, let's look at a little bit about Mr. Giorgio Trissino. And as we look at it, we see that he was born in, let's bring this one up. He was born into a wealthy patrician family in Vicenza, a cultural center in his time. And he served Popes Leo X and Clement VII, which is important. And this is why I want to bring up who Pope Leo is. Now, here's some facts about Pope Leo. Well, Pope Leo was Pope from 1513 to 1521, was a lavish patron of the arts and an international political manipulator. Okay, so that's one of the facts that they put on Leo, Pope Leo X. So, what is he bestly known for? Well, it says that he was best known for his wasteful habits, his lecherous activities, and hedonistic quote, "Since God has given us the papacy, let us enjoy it." So we see what he was about. Okay, so we know that now that Mr. Trissino was serving up under Pope Leo X, and Clement the Seventh. And we also know that Pope Leo X, he loved to indulge. And let me just bring this up real quick so I can go into it a little bit if you'll bring it up. Historically, in the Roman Catholic Church, a grant by the Pope of remission of the temporal punishment and purgatory still due for sins after absolution. The unrestricted sale of indulgence by pardoners was a widespread abuse during the later Middle Ages. So we see what was going on. And this is what Pope Leo was also famously known for. And as we look at the Pope Clement VII, you see that he is the cousin of Pope Leo X. Interesting. And when you look into a little bit about him, well, we'll see. Hold on, let me scroll back down right here. You'll see that like the preceding popes, Alexander the Sixth and Julius II and Leo X, Clement appeared to his contemporaries primarily as a Renaissance prince preoccupied with Italian politics, the patronage and enjoyment of Renaissance culture, and the advancement of his family. So it also goes on to say, as were the pontiffs mentioned, Clement was financially unsystematic and extravagant. So he was also a believer of indulgence.
Indulgence.
Okay. Found something else interesting in the Mormon delusion. When it goes in, it says that the letter J was first distinguished from I by the Frenchman Pierre Ramus in the 16th century, but did not become common in modern English until the 17th century. So that early 17th century works, such as the first edition of the King James Version of the Bible in 1611, continued to print the name with an I. So that we can see right here that during this time in the 17th century, early 17th century, that J was not a popular letter, or wasn't really universally added into the alphabet as it is today. It was one of those things that was gradually being added and gradually being used. So over time, it became popularized. Let me look at a little bit on who Petrus Ramus is. And as we can see that this was an intellectual reform so passionately advocated by the French Renaissance humanist and philosopher Pierre de la Rema, Petrus Ramus, angelicized to Peter Ramus in 1572, and by his thousands of followers across Central and Northwest Europe, registered a major shift in consciousness, marking the transit from the ancient and medieval world into the modern. Also to note that Ramus is a man of the 16th century, and he is eminently a man concerned with language. So that's how we can see that he had a part in popularizing and basically promoting the addition of the letter J into the alphabet. And again here, it goes over that Giangio Trissino was first to explicitly distinguish I and J. And it was Ramos who actually popularized it. I wanted to go over something else just so you can see. Ramos actually, the Frenchman, Ramos, is during this Renaissance time, 1515, 1572, during this Renaissance time, this is also when, a lot of the explorers start exploring. But what I found interesting is that I saw that the French colonization of the Americas actually occurred before the French colonization of Africa, which I found very interesting, considering the proximity. So as we can look, it says that what states the French colonized, and as you can see, the territory encompassed by these states here, named Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Colorado, and Idaho, named after the French king Louis XIV. Its capital, New Orleans, at the mouth of the Mississippi River, was founded in 1718. Okay, so this is French colonization in the Americas. Then when you look at the French colonization in Africa, you see that these are the colonies of Africa. And you see how when they started, for the majority of them started in the mid to late 1800s, with the exception of Senegal, which is said that 1611 is when they first touched down there. But look at all the remaining colonies or areas, and it says more items. So this is just some. Is there more? I'll go into it. Well, okay. Is it in Africa? French North Africa, French West Africa, French Equatorial Africa, East Africa, Indian Ocean. Okay, so as you can see, these dates, the majority of them are in the late 1800s, which is very recent. And also I wanted to bring up something, bring into the French. As we know, the French also were here in the Americas, all out of the French and Indian War. I want to give a shout out to Sister Venus Johnson, who shared this in a post today. From a French literature, the Journal des Voyages, Adventures de Terre et de Mer. And et de Mer is, for a translation, Adventures de Terre et de Mer, Adventures of the Land and Sea. Okay, so when we're looking at this is a French publication illustrating adventures of the land and sea. And as you can see, these indigenous people, very indigenous looking people, looking like so-called Negroes that I see every day walking up and down the street. And as you can see, they're hunting a bull. And in the background, you can see other warriors. Now, some would say, oh, is this Africa or is this America? Well, I just showed you where they came first and where they settled second. So that kind of gives you some idea of, if you can see people like this over in that continent of Africa, and it was a French colony, and they had French colonies in the Americas first, and with people looking like this, and then a century later they started a colony over in the continent of Africa, and now you see people looking like this. Common sense. All right, so I just wanted to go ahead and actually share that. Well, let me scroll this and another close-up of it. Look at these. Look at the phenotype. This is why I want people to start paying attention. Look at the phenotype. Look at the afro, the froze. Okay, look at this. Look. All right. So now here is a painting of the French and Indian War in the Carolinas. The war began in 1754 and ended with the Treaty of Paris in 1763. And here's another still portrait of the event. Here is artwork from the Dutch when they came here. They're showing you what the people look like. So, as we can see, again, this letter J, which has corrupted and altered many names and words, was first explicitly distinguished from the letter I by Gian Giorgio Trissino in a letter in 1524. And the letter J was distinguished from I by Frenchman Pierre Ramos, where it was more so popularized. So we have an origin. Basically, we got this one guy, Gian Trissino, who's an Italian. He originally was the one who explicitly distinguished I and J. Then we have a Frenchman Pierre Ramos, who more so popularized the letter and promoted the addition into our current alphabet. So interesting, I wanted to go ahead and share that information with you guys so that we understand that when we see names and words starting with this letter J, that's something that has just occurred in the last few hundred years. It's nothing ancient. So when we look at ancient scripts, ancient writings, and you see this letter J added, then that corrupts it. It changes it. So I want you guys to be mindful of that and cognizant of that. And I also want us to be mindful and to know that when they arrived here, who they saw. These are the people they saw. Now looking at the phenotype, looking at basically the people that's depicted in this drawing, you can see that you see these people every day walking down the street, driving by you, walking by you, passing by you. Some of them probably can't tell you, probably looking like you. So understand who they saw when they got here. And compare it with some of the other historical drawings. Look at these phenotypes. Look. These are the Indians that they were fighting, the French were fighting in the Carolinas. This is how when they got them more subdued. Common sense. Common sense. So, understand that letter J and its addition is a recent construct, a recent corruption, a recent alteration of names and words. We must be mindful of that as we sift through the dirt to get the gems. And we also have to keep in mind the people and the Americas we see the 1500s, the 1600s, all up and down here.
All right, family. All right. That's all I could get on here. Blog Talk tripping tonight. So again, to get that entire take on that, that's the letter J, the spell and corruption. That's from the YouTube channel Medicine Man. I highly encourage you to go back and listen to the entire video because he dropped another bombshell. I'm just going to give you a little hint. You have to look at the spelling of these words and the pronunciation of the words because Jew really isn't Jew, right? Couldn't be really Jew if they invented J. Finally, they started putting it in the language in the 1700s, which is very, very recent, extremely recent. Okay, so that means Jew really isn't Jew, and Judah isn't really Judah. So in that video, he says Judah is Judah, or is it Judah is Judah and Utah, meaning Utah, okay? So tying to the four corners. So that's why I am encouraging you all to go back and watch that entire video because they dropped the gems in there tying some of these words that have been corrupted back to the indigenous lands. So these things were done very much so intentionally. And that's why we have to take everything that has been put before us as truth and re-examine it, in addition to your research, you also have to use a lot of discernment and going within, because I said that I have always believed that the Bible was constructed of stories from indigenous people across the planet, okay? Because we see these same narratives in other ancient scripts, okay? So just putting that out there, but I highly, highly encourage you to go back and view that video in its entirety. But I did want to get the link for the family regarding the letter J, regarding the identity that King James, the melanated man, is saying that he is of a Jew lineage, and his name is, in Hebrew, Iames, I-A-M-E-S, and his nickname is Jacob. Okay, so I'll pause in case Sis or Brother Sean, you want to put something on it before we go on to the next one. I'm sorry, go ahead, Sis.
Well, Utah is where, we found that Moses led the people from to Central America. Also, King Louis X was the one who was credited with the saying, "What fable we have wrought with this name Jesus," because they were making a big profit off of that Jesus stuff. So he came out there and said it straight out that it was all a fable. So
right. And we know that with the Council of Nicaea, right? Wasn't it what the whole Council of Nicaea was about?
Yeah, and they had made it up too, and what's his name? Arius was the only one who descended from, he was a melanated man, and he felt it was deceptive for them to do that. And they put out a hit on him. Yeah, they put a hit out on him. And they chased him out of business. They just, what they call it? When they excommunicated him out of the
from the church.
Yeah, because of what he said, because he thought it was pretty crappy that they had done that to the people. But they did all that kind of stuff, and our people, if they really study, they will understand they've been had. They're really being had, but they don't get it.
Right, and I guess. And great point, Sis. And I guess my point again for the entire Bible, because I just want to make my position clear, although I'm probably repeating myself, but I still again want to make myself clear on my position on the Bible. It is number one, it's depending. It's a book of spell to some, or it can be a book of science to others. Okay,
right.
But the construction of that book, let's be clear, it was not no man down in the up in the sky that gave this information to some people, to a group of quote quote chosen people, to write the information down to carry forth through the world. That is not so. The research shows that these same parables, or what they're calling stories in the Bible, can be traced back to other indigenous peoples' civilizations. So the Bible was constructed with the indigenous people of the land. Parables, and the hidden part of it is the science, the metaphysics science that's hidden in the Bible, the astrology, the cosmos. That is really what the Bible is. is far from what they are teaching today in these churches. So if the Bible was constructed that way from the different indigenous people on the planet, taking their knowledge, taking their science, and putting it in there, that means you have to also question the narrative of the whole tribe situation. All of that has to be questioned. And I say that to say because what we are seeing is different rulers have taken on that identity as being the quote Jews or the chosen people to rule the planet. So it was put together as spells for folks to keep taking on the identity of the chosen ones to rule the planet. That's what that whole idea of he who holds the scepter rules the planet. They were using spells on the people and using the science of the indigenous people to rule over them. Because in that Bible, you will find codes from the secret society. So that's how we know it was constructed for the purpose of rulership. So just take heed. I'm not saying throw it out. Don't get me wrong. What I am telling you is to look at it for what it is. They just completed the set of books, in 1611? And as you can see, it was corrupt out of the gate. And then they keep reiterating it. They incorporated it with the letter J in it. So all of this was done to separate the indigenous people from their heritage, who they are, from their sciences. They took the indigenous people's sciences and used it against them and separating them from the land. And you can literally take that Bible, take that Old Testament, and you can get the Sumerian text, and you can use Zechariah Stitchin as a source. Specifically, you can use the Lost Book of Enki. You can go back and you can get the Terra Papers. That's another set of ancient documents. Read the shit. And you'll see that it's the same exact parables in the Bible today. The only difference is, and I'm speaking of the Old Testament, the only difference is that they name names. So they name who they are speaking of when they talk about Lord, when they talk about God. They speak about the technology in those particular writings versus the miracles that they, quote, quote, put in the Bible and that they watered down, okay? So any particular ruler claiming that title as the chosen one, or their bloodline being the chosen Jew or people, seem really, really suspicious to be in on a plot that goes back probably millions of years to enslave the planet. All the way back to the, quote, quote, when the Galactics were here trying to mine for gold on the planet. Okay, so I'll pause in case y'all want to put something on it. If not,
yeah, I'll put something on it, sis. We have to keep in mind that writing within itself is new compared to how ancient we are. We are a people of remembering. We're a people of oral traditions. So everything that has been written is only fragments.
Yes.
Because plenty of ancestors gladly died without teaching them a goddamn thing.
True that.
We have to take it back before the patriarchal system.
That is
which
right.
is when we're talking about all this rulership shit, whether you're talking about Inky and them ruling or whoever, they don't predate the silicon trees. And when Mama wasn't stationary, they wasn't able to get on Mama until she crashed, until she fell.
Yep.
I still think the silicon trees is the key to everything.
It is.
We God and we're created. We can't make it grow back. Our elevated frequencies, Mama's elevated frequencies. I mean,
Indeed.
They say that this is a globe spinning through space at millions of miles per hour or whatever, or thousands of miles per hour, whatever they say.
Right.
That lets you know at one point Mama did move. The fact that we see all the same constellations, or the fact that they got time to even put all this bullshit up in the sky lets you know that she's stationary. And the fact that her brothers and sisters are here now let you know the bullshit over.
Right.
She ain't by herself no more. She never was. That's why they wanted to put us to sleep with religions and all this other bullshit that we never even fucking worried about.
Right.
And we still worried about the very stuff that is our downfall. It's all part of the rabbit hole. We're finding out this information, knowing who did this, that, or the other, putting the pieces together, this, that, or the other. Then people want to celebrate because you figured out something.
Right.
Okay, they already knew this. They just waiting for you to get to this point. Now they're looking at you like, okay, now what you do? And then when they see you don't do nothing, they throw another distraction at you and watch you go after it. They know that they can't do nothing if you really on your four corners, your square.
Right.
They know it ain't shit they can do. So they just put bullshit out there to distract you. And that's what you do, like people do with an angry dog. They trying to break in somebody's house. Dog come bark. They get a dog some meat. A dumb dog gonna eat the meat. A smart dog gonna still bite you.
Yep. Indeed, brother. Indeed. I do want to just add what you were saying about the silicon trees, because we talked about that for several times. We did a show on it. And you can just go on YouTube and research the silicon trees and realize that we had ancient trees on Mother Earth that, wow, we don't even know how old they are, but that were just giant trees. And someone cut them down, and most of what we are calling mountains were really these silicon trees. And if you want to get a visual of it, think of the movie Avatar. Okay, that movie was depicting the battle that happened on Mother Earth. Okay, and I believe that when those silicon trees were destroyed, and you can also see remnants of that war that took place with the technology that these other beings that are not indigenous to Mother Earth use. That's how the deserts were created. Okay, with more than likely plasma technology. But with that said, when those silicon trees were destroyed, that's when the vibration of the planet was lowered. And what Brother Sean is saying, he believes, is what also halted and stationary Mother Earth. So as the vibration of Mother Earth was lowered, so was the vibration of the people as well. Okay, so his point being, and kind of why I always keep harping on, we have to get back to the connection of the land and let all of this other corporate distraction bullshit go. It's important because that is the only way we are going to maintain the higher vibration of Mother Earth, to kill off all of the parasites on Mother that do not belong. And just to show you how deep this stuff is, when these beings that do not belong here, okay, and I'm talking beyond what you are considering, quote, quote, white people, Caucasian people, because it's deeper than that, okay? You cannot tell who is whom by looking at them face value. You tell who people are through their actions, and you feel their vibratory rate or state. That's how you're going to know who is whom on Mother Earth. And if you are in tune, you're going to be able to feel their energy, and sometimes you will see the motherfucker shape-shift in front of you. You'll blink like, did I just see what the fuck I thought I seen? Oh, hell to the no. So this is why it's important for us to get out of the stupor of what the corporation is doing. What the white man is doing, because it is bigger than that. They did not use someone that looked different than who you look like to enslave the entire planet. It's deeper than that. We are talking who is indigenous to Mother Earth and who is not from here. Who came to Mother Earth to cipher, take the resources, enslave, and now don't want to fucking leave, but they will be out of here. And just one more last point to put on some extra on what Brother Sean was saying. When we were doing that series on the Lost Book of Enki, out the gate, they said that Mother Earth was the particular beings were pissed off and wanted her power. And so they ganged up to take her down because supposedly she was bullying everybody. Well, wait a minute, blood. If I'm minding my motherfucking business, and bitch, if I tell you I don't want you crossing over into my home, fucking with me and mine, that's what the fuck I mean. So now all of a sudden I'm a bully because I don't want to share my particular body, my particular resources, my particular children with you bitches that have destroyed your own civilizations. So that's how deep this really runs. So I'll pause because we got a few people in the queue. So let me get to 312. Okay, here we go. 312, your line is open.
Hi, Rhonda. This is Doria from Chicago. Hello, family.
Hey, peace and love, sis. How are you?
Good. Still at the house arrest. It'll be a year of Valentine's Day.
Oh,
no
man.
crime has been committed. No nothing. But let me tell you this, and this is what I wanted to share, and it kind of reminded me. I don't mean to get off the topic, but I had court a month ago, and the psychiatrist had said that I was competent and that I don't need a public defender. I don't need nobody, that I'm fit to stand up on them, okay? He called the psychiatrist in after she did 2 reports, and they asked her, so why you say she competent when you know she getting disability for bipolar? She said, yeah, I know that. They said, well, why you say she's competent? I said she's competent because Doria said that she's indigenous to this land, and she's Aboriginal, and that those statutes and codes don't apply to her. You couldn't hear a pin drop in the room.
Whoa.
That's beautiful.
And he said, so they just kept quiet. I was the last one in court as usual. They clear the room, make you the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So the prosecutor asked her, he said, so what else did Doria tell you? He said, she told me that the judge ain't no damn judge. The judge is an administrator. He's just a referee, just there to administer between the prosecutor and her. Couldn't hear a pin drop. The judge was looking like, dang, this is on the record, because they wouldn't listen to me. You know, I'm dead. So everything I put in the file, they wouldn't listen to nothing I said. Totally ignore me, everything. And so the prosecutor said, so did Doria ever mention that she was a Moor? Because you know they use that as a codified. You know I never mentioned that. And
Exactly.
The psychiatrist said, no. Doria never, ever mentioned that she was a Moor. She only said that she was indigenous to this land and she's Aboriginal. Couldn't hear a pin drop. Kept quiet again. They looking stupid. I'm just back there just looking. So how long you been a psychiatrist with us now? How many crimes? She said, I had 300. He said, so you mean to tell me Doria never mentioned that she was a Moor? She said, no. Never came out of her mouth. Nothing about no more.
Wow. So they was trying to basically still get you on the Moor stuff, right?
And they said, okay, you dismissed.
They classify them as
they
terrorists.
Said, okay, then your case is continued to Monday, February 4th. I'm going Monday and I'm shutting it down.
So
I'm like, case dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
No crime has been committed. There's no injured party.
Mm-hmm.
I'm indigenous to this land. You guys have, under force and courage, you have kidnapped me. And this is racketeering, genocide, human trafficking. And this case needs to be dismissed immediately, like now. I'll move this case to be dismissed with prejudice.
Wow.
That's what I'm going to let us say Monday.
So, sis, just to make sure that the family enter and understands, they were trying to get the psychiatrist to say that you said that you were a Moor?
They were trying to say, you remember when I told you that when they arrested me and locked me up and I came out, the prosecutor was like, oh, yeah, Judge, and she's a Moor. And you remember I was wondering, like, what? Yeah, that's I never told you.
Yep.
Moor.
Yep. I remember. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I never told them that. I had to come and look it up and do some research and say, why would they say that?
Mm-hmm.
You told them twice. She ain't never mentioned tears no more. And that's good. I'm going in there. I'm shutting it down Monday.
Right. And the reason that they paused family when she said she's indigenous to the land, or the psychiatrist relayed that information, and that she's not, subject to your statutes and codes, versus being that Moor, because the Moor, they have listed them as a terrorist organization. And so that is why when people go up under these courthouses using that term, they get the clink, clink, clinkety, clink, clink. Plus, that separates you from the land versus, blood, I'm indigenous to this land. I don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. These are statutes and codes. None of this applies to me. You can refer to ADRIP if you need anything additional, but she didn't even have to get to that point, because as soon as she said indigenous, they knew what time it was, and that's why they continued that shit. So,
they was flabbergasted. They was on the record. She said it like twice. Those statutes and codes don't apply to her. Mm-hmm. She's Aboriginal. They were just really, really quiet. They would never let me say nothing, and I'm glad. I'm glad. And they was like, how many clients you got? Huh?
I said, you didn't need to say nothing. Because once that indigenous term was put out there, that was all she wrote.
On and for the record. And he said, let me order that transcript. Before we can even finish the end, I want a copy of that transcript. I was saying to my man, give me one too. I called her the other day. She said that transcript will be ready by Thursday, which is today. But the course was closed down in Chicago yesterday and today.
Weather.
Yeah, they manipulated the weather.
Right.
Trying to shut stuff down so they won't have to announce this global currency reset or say whatever. But Chicago, the headquarters of the mafia, I'm not surprised. But I'm 58 years old. I've never seen 60 degrees below wind chill. I got ice all on my windows and all on the doors. It's warm and really nice and warm in my house, but inside my windows, inside the house, is just nothing but ice.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. Wow.
But I just said I'm coming Thursday, and I'm gonna shut it down. It's like my friend, well, why don't you just transfer your case? You know they open up the Moors American counselor. You can transfer. I sent my case to no American. I ain't got to do that.
Nope.
You'll go to jail.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
What?
They are moving cases. They have made an agreement with them all of a sudden on the 29th, where they are moving cases and they are doing stuff all of a sudden on the 29th. I'm like, okay, so they moving cases, but I don't have to do that.
No.
I'm my own nation. I ain't got to move nothing. I ain't got to do nothing. I'm going in there. I'm standing on my documents.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Stand on your bloodline. Stand on
That's right.
your family heritage, who you are. Right. Leave that Moor stuff alone, because it's hit or miss. But thank you, sis, for updating us. And if you feel up to it, please keep us updated, because what you sharing your story. I want to thank you first of all for sharing your story, because you definitely don't have to call in and do it. But this is going out across the Americas, so people won't have to make those type of mistakes, and they can see what the game really is. So I truly want to thank you for that, and I'm sending you all of the positive energy, and just know that
Rhonda, I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest, Rhonda. Come on now, we started off with a recording device. They didn't have me on house arrest, on lockdown, in jail for 11 minutes on a recorded device with the audio and video, which is the First Amendment. No crime has been committed, no nothing. They injured. They going when I get out of this, but they've injured me. They gonna have to pay. They have injured me.
Colorable law.
I understand, sis. I totally understand.
A recording device? Are you kidding me? Because I tell the judge that I'm gonna sue her for confiscating and stealing my recording device. I have a right to sue anybody I want to. I can sue the president if I want. That's my right.
With permission.
Indeed.
But I'll yield on that.
Okay, thank you, sis, and sending you love, peace and love. Thank you so much.
All right.
Oh, I'm so glad that sister called back in, because I had been thinking about her.
Me too.
I truly appreciate it. Yeah, I'm like, oh man, but
I just heard a federal judge write a letter on somebody's paper. He's a Moor. He's considered a terrorist. So if these people think that stuff is fake, that they're considering them terrorists, that was last week. And they do consider the Moors terrorists.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the Alphabet Boys website that they list them as terrorists. So that's why they assume when she was in that courtroom with the other person that was identifying themselves as a Moor, they just assumed that. But the game changed when, no, she never said that. She's indigenous to the, indigenous. That's probably why she hear a rat piss on cotton in that courtroom.
That's good. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's very, very good. That's very, very good. And thank you, sis, for keeping us updated. Okay, family. So, shoot, I forgot where we was. Dang, that really.
That was a boost.
Yeah, it really was. It really was, and it just goes to show you. The other thing that we're gonna get into, because we left off last week when we talked about King James and them having a group of people called the Jacobites, which they were trying to restore their quote kingdom with this document called the Solomon document. Okay, and in the book, and again, I'm reading from Lee Cummings' book, The Negro Question, Part 4. Sorry, The Negro Question, Part 4, The Missing Link. They were saying that the Solomon document, they were collecting names and people's information, so the king was recording people or documenting the people in case a change of power took place, okay? Because the Jacobites were in conflict with the Catholic Church, okay? Because King James never identified himself as a Catholic, and he actually identified the Catholic Church as the Antichrist. So already you can see that this whole religion and church thing that these particular kingdoms started. Now, they got the motherfucking Bible in their hand, going across Mama Earth, the indigenous people's land, okay, and then handing them the Bible, but within their own set of rulership, they then split themselves into different groups. Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis. While I look for.
I just wanted to ask. I think we passed this up, but who are considered the Gentiles and who are considered the Christians? Because he was saying something about different groups were considered the Gentiles. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that when he was saying.
It's
let me
the
see
Catholics were the Christians. I think he said the Catholics.
Go back.
I was there laying for that one, but we didn't get to it.
Yeah, let me go back to that part. We talk about the Hebrew. Okay, here we are. I'm on page 17. And again, I'm on the Negro Question Part 4, the missing link. This is off of Brother Lee Cummings' book. A Solomon League and Covenant for Reformation and Defense of Religion, the honor and happiness of the king, and the peace and safety of the three kingdoms of England, Scotland, and Ireland. So again, this proves my point of what religion was used for, what that Bible was used for. It was used for rulership. Okay, right. So we noblemen, barons, knights, gentlemen, citizens, burgesses, ministers of the gospel, and commons of all sorts in the kingdom of England, Scotland, and Ireland, by the promise of God, living under one king and being one reformed religion, having before our eyes the glory of God and the advancements of the kingdom of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So that means if they are sending shout-outs to motherfucking Jesus, then they were a part of the whole setup of the Council of Nicaea.
Right.
So the honor and happiness of the king's majesty and his posterity and the true public liberty, safety, and peace of the kingdoms wherein everyone's private condition is included, and calling to mind the treacherous and bloody plots, conspiracies, attempts, and practices of the enemies of God against true religion and professors thereof in all places, especially in these three kingdoms, ever since the Reformation of religion, and how much their rage, power, and presumptions are of late, and at this time increased in exercise, whereof the deplorable estates of the church in the kingdom of Ireland, the distressed estates of the church and kingdom of England, and the dangerous estates of the Church of Kingdom of Scotland are present and public testimony. I'm trying to see where he's getting into it. Let me see. Okay, maybe this is it. Bear with me. I'm just trying to scan over this.
No problem.
Okay,
I don't know if anybody else.
Point. Okay, I'm on 19. The kings of Scotland, Ireland, and Britain are calling the Pope and the Catholic institutions antichrist. It appears that the Jacobites, Jakes, and the Covenanters were walking in the commandments of the God of Israel, and there is another reason that I say this. Okay, and I'm not going to go into the rest of that. So, in other words, they're basically saying, they're specifically calling out the Catholic Church, but they're basically saying anyone that is not under the same religion of Scotland, Ireland, and Britain, that's who they're considering the Gentiles. so it again proves my point of what that Bible is used for.
Wow. Separated kingdoms.
Yeah. Yep.
And we go around there talking about salvation is given to the Gentiles and and not to Israel anymore. That's crap.
Right. Right. So it's just a con game all the way around. They just took, again, the knowledge from the indigenous people across the planet, comprised it in a book, written it in a way that it'll either cast spells, or if you are in the know or vibrating at a particular rate, that you can see past the spells and you can see the science that they put in there, the astronomy that is in there. Okay? But their main purpose was for the conquering of the people. I'm sorry, Brother Sean, did you have something?
Yeah, that the God of Israel.
That Jesus?
I'm just saying, it's the fact that they differentiate. They know that there isn't just
one God.
One. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, we already know that Israel, what is that word comprised of? Isn't it Isis, Ra, and El?
Yeah, Isis, Ra, and El. That's right.
Okay. So that means tying into the whole Egyptians. Okay. And if you do a little digging with the Egyptians, you'll see how those particular deities or kingdoms also link back to what some are calling extraterrestrials. Okay? So
like,
that's how deep this thing is.
Like Akhenaten was.
Right.
He tied back to the sun god. He had that cone head, and some people said Obama looked like him.
Right. But again, you can go into the Sumerian text, and you can tie back those people as being sons and relatives of the Anunnakis. You can tie it back.
Well,
okay. Yeah.
Remember they had the Igigi that came with them too, that branched over into the to the pharaohs. They never did
but
really.
Didn't the Anunnaki and the Igigi were intermarrying?
Well, yeah, on Marduk's side. Yeah, they did in that book.
Right.
So, but you know one thing about Sitchin in that book, they never identify who the Igigi is. They never said who they were, except for they were already captured.
You have to go to other ancient texts because the Terra Papers tell you who the Igigi are and how they came about and all of that. But the point I'm trying to make is, again, these are beings that were not indigenous to the land. And so what they brought with them was a system of religion, a system of slavery, and it trickled down all the way to what you see today, these fake corporate systems.
Right. Yeah, like the presidents, they are part of the Igigi bloodline. as the pharaohs and all that kind of stuff, the queen.
Right.
I figured that out. That they had to be those people, because the Gigi were in captivity when they came here. So what better way to enslave a planet than make them your slaves? The buck rolls downhill, right?
Right. So now just think about what you just said. So how had their methods or ideology changed as they were bringing forward millions of years and bring it into the 1500s? It's the same
Not
ideology.
at all.
It's the same ideology.
The same stuff.
It's the exact same story being played out over and over again, because the vibratory state of the planet was so low that the indigenous people could not wrap their head around what was going on. So the cycle just continued. But you had people that kept incarnating back to Mama Earth that would keep dropping the knowledge, writing it in stones. So when we got to the particular age where Mama was going to recover full speed, that the indigenous peoples would start to remember, because also our DNA would start to reactivate, okay? Because it is said that not only when those silicon trees were leveled, Mama Earth fell at a low vibratory state, the indigenous people fell in the low vibratory state, and that DNA was also altered, okay? So meaning the indigenous people were not at their top self, okay? But all of that was going to change and swing back around. All right, that's what the whole shift is about. That's what the whole ascension process is about.
I'm going to put a spanner in here somewhere. I was looking at the hieroglyphs of the Sumerian texts and stuff. Do you know, and these dudes are dreadlocked, right? And bearded and all that kind of stuff, so we know who they are.
Yes.
Do you know they had fish and some kind of reptile on the floor in front of them?
Okay. When you're saying you're looking at the Sumerian text?
Yeah, the hieroglyphic tab. And they had a fish in front of them, and one of them had a snake at his feet, or some kind of reptile. And I thought to myself, they say that certain races they created using the fish DNA and the reptiles and all that other stuff DNA. So them guys was doing some serious genetic altering, those Anunnaki, when they came here. And that's why they're, these GG seed, they do the same stuff.
Right, and just think of how deep that whole fish concept is, because it traces down to the religion with Jesus, and it is said that which one of the Anunnaki brothers represent the fish, because one of them represents fish. Isn't that Inky? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Inky represents
he had that
the fish.
Costume on. He had on that costume when he came, right? Remember?
Exactly.
Goodness.
Exactly. So it's all right before our faces. It's all there. We're just now in the particular age and energy where we can see it clearly now if you are in tune, if you go within self. So that's why I keep harping on, let's get off the chessboard. You are not to be a pawn, especially in your own home. You're supposed to be looking above the chessboard because you're going to totally flip that chessboard over. It is being destroyed. And a big piece of the game being played out on that chessboard is religion, race, and nationality. Those are the biggest pieces that keep being played, the biggest spells that keep being played on folk.
Right.
And now that shit is over. Because if you are in tune, you should see folk for who they really are. And it's cleanup time. So, very, very good point. Very, very good point. Okay, so here we getting ready to get to the sucky, dookie, y'all. So, many of the covenants, so remember, that's King James and them people. Y'all, here come where the fuckation comes into play. Many of the covenants were shipped to East Jersey in 1685. 28 of them signed statements saying the testimony bearing, and I'm on page 20. Did I write the whole statement down? So anyhow, I think I wrote what they made them write down. So they shipped out 20 of the troublemakers. So this again, the war within that whole King James kingdom between the Catholic Church and his people. 28 of his diehards were shipped to East Jersey in 1685 and made them sign a statement that now to leave their native and covenanted land by an unjust sentence of banishment for owning truth and standing by duty, studying to keep their covenants, engagement, and baptismal vows, whereby they stand obligated to resist and testify against all that is contrary to the word of God and their covenants. They refused the oath of alliance, which in conscience they declined the Lord Jesus Christ from having power from any power in his own house, and practically by taking it set. So I'm sorry, sis, go ahead. I want to kind of find that because I'm reading for some notes.
So he did have people who like his Jesus Christ concepts because they conquered in the name of Jesus. All of these places, if you read their writings here in this country in 1883 and all that kind of stuff, they wrote that they captured us in the name of Christ Jesus, and that they have dominion over us because they captured in that name. So the people who did not agree with James, they were banished because their whole thing was to conquer.
Right. But to show you the hypocrisy, because if you are supposedly and allegedly a Jew, how is Jesus in play with any of that?
He's not.
Okay, so that just shows you how they use the Bible, and depending on who's motherfucking ruling, they change the script the way they want to change it.
Right.
So that's proof right there, because King James said he is a Jew, and his nickname is Jacob, So why is your covenants in them running around talking about some motherfucking Jesus? Okay. So, and I'm reading off page 20. I'm just going to go straight from the book because my notes seem confusing to me. In May 1685, okay, and the ship's name, y'all, ship's name was, let me get this motherfucking shit right. The ship's name was Ship Henry Francis of Newcastle, departed in Leith in 1685, arrived in Perth, New York. Okay, so in May 1685, Scott chartered the Henry and Francis of Newcastle, a ship of 350 tons and 20 great guns, and Richard Hutton as master. On the eve of their banishment, 28 of them signed the following conjunct testimony bearing that now to leave their own native and covenant land by an unjust sentence of banishment for owning truth and standing by duty, studying to keep their covenants, engagements, and baptismal views, whereby they stand obligated to resist and testify against all that is contrary to the word of God and their covenant, and that their sentence of banishment ran chiefly because they refused the oath of alliance, which in conscience they could not take, because in doing so they thought utterly declined the Lord Jesus Christ from having any power in his own house, and practically would, by taking it, set. He was not king and head of his church, and over them conscious. Okay, so now remember, this is King James, folks, the covenanters getting into it with the Catholic Church. And on the contrary, this was to take and put in his room a man whose breath is in his nostrils, yea, a man who is sworn enemy to religion, and an avowed papist, whom by our covenants we are bound to withstand and disown, and that agreeably to scriptures. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, giveth thee. Yeah, thank you, sis, for motherfucking pointing that out. So their Lord, let's be clear, their Lord and God, okay? And if you want to know the specific name of the Lord and God they speaking on, that's when you have to go back to the Sumerian text, okay? Because it's another being from another dimension is really who they speaking on, okay? But they don't know this because by this time that information had been buried, okay? Had given them the land. No, let's be clear. Your Lord and God came on Mother Earth as a motherfucking illegal alien out the gate millions of years ago. You over in Britain talking about some shit that's yours, bitch, you came from Iberia and infringed on what you renamed Britain, on those indigenous people land. But your Lord and God gave that to you. Oh, okay then, blood. Okay, whatever you say. So, until the land, I'm sorry, sis, what'd you say?
I think that's the phrase that God told Abraham about his lands that he owned. That's why I knew what you were saying, because I've heard it before. I'm not even reading what you read.
Exactly.
But that's what, So they try to take that seed line stuff and just take it.
Yep. So they using a script. They're literally using a formula and script to colonize and take the indigenous people's stuff.
Property. Yep.
So until the land which the Lord thy God giveth, and they now it ain't the motherfucking defense. They did say thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell within, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
That's
so, like
Saul.
I told y'all, this is a script.
That's that Saul speech.
This is a script. Okay, that's a Saul speech. Okay,
Yeah,
so
when
this
Saul, they wanted Saul as king. That's exactly what he said in that script to Saul. I mean, to the people of Israel when they were appointing Saul as king.
Okay, well, they sure was using it here too. Whom the Lord thy God shall choose from among thy brethren shall thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. So, in other words, if you think we finna pick somebody from indigenous from their own motherfucking land to run this shit, you out of your rabbit ass mind. It's gonna be who we pick, and it's gonna be one of our own folk. So this shit with this corporate fiction and presidents or really CEOs being selected, and whether or not you over in Britain with that particular fake ass family, the royal, it's the same exact script. Okay, so that was quoted out of Deuteronomy 17, chapter 17, verses 14 and 15. And so it goes, the author goes, this was an Israelite custom that their king had to be their brother, and this was taught into the law of Moses.
They be lying on Moses, don't they?
Well, okay, so that's that part, okay? So that just shows you, out of all of that, what I also just want us to focus on, and we're getting ready to get into it a little bit more, is that they started shipping the Brits over to the Americas in 1685. Okay, now these are the melanated. Let me correct my motherfucking self. Let me get clear. My bad, family. Let me get clear. In 1685, they started shipping the melanated Brits over to the Americas because there was a war within that particular kingdom and the Catholic Church. So they started to ship King James folk over to the Americas. So these are the melanated people they were shipping over. Now let's be clear. The white Caucasian people that were in the Americas were here before 1685. Okay? They started sending them over as indentured servants or the Slavs. They were the first slaves.
Right.
Okay? So hopefully we're getting an understanding on how this particular story has been jumbled up on who is who. Okay? All right. So the other thing that on page 23 he goes over is further proof that the Scots are here. 5,000 Scots leave America and found Canada. Scots migrated to Illinois, Ohio, Iowa, and Kansas. Philadelphia Centennial, 1879 article below, and he's saying that if they were talking about the Scottish Irish in America, 1896, the Scottish Irish in America, 1906, the Sons of Scotland in America, 1906. And he said, once I realized that the Scots and Irish were written about extensively in the 19th and 20th century, I got to thinking that their admission in modern history could be an honest mistake. Once this book is published on Amazon and other outlets, we should get a better feel for the academia's true intentions concerning world history. Okay, so I'll pause in case Brother Shiner, sis, you have anything you want to put on it before we get into some of these coats of arms.
Not me. But you know what? They are indentured servants to somebody. They're not just indentured servants.
Well. Yes, they are. So who do you think they were indentured servants to, sis?
I would imagine to the melanated folks in the 13 colonies.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to build up the land at that time.
Exactly. And actually, we're also now finding out, although our brother P. Cannon, out of his book, 103 Facts About the Black Indian, he told us that even indigenous Indians own slaves as well. Okay, but yes, you're right. Out the gate, it started with the Slavs, or who they're now calling white folk. It started in those 13 colonies, because remember, in those 13 colonies, you had initially out of New York, the Iroquois were trading with the Dutch.
Right.
Okay. And so then the other particular European nations started coming over as well. It was said that King James himself had came over, and they started doing business with some of those indigenous tribes in those 13 colonies. Okay, and you can go back and pull charters for those particular, what we're now calling states, and you'll see the particular kings out of Europe, which are all melanated, who issued a charter to do business, or, mapping out territories to do business in the Americas. So yes, sis, the first Slavs or indentured servants had to have been in those 13 colonies. But as they start to expand territory, that's when it moved in the South and in the Carolinas, because remember, the French had the South for the most part. Okay, so Britain really wanted to get the South from the French. But yes, very good point. Very good point, sis. Okay, so I am on page 24, and again, my source is book from Lee Cummings, The Negro Question, Part 4, The Missing Link. And so he's saying that the history records that after the execution of Charles I of Scotland and England, that Oliver Cromwell invaded Scotland, killed 4,000 men and took 10,000 captives. For some explicable reason, it took Cromwell 1 year to end the war in Scotland. What I do know, and I am certain of, is that he deported the Scots to American colonies. These black Europeans Shit, I lost my place. Sorry. Yeah.
To the
These
American
black
colony.
Yeah, these
These
black
black.
Europeans were sent to, all right, y'all, here we go. They were sent to Barbados, Boston, Charlestown, Cambridge, Concord, Hingham, Ipswich, Virginia, Newark, and the Southern Plantations. These are the facts, ladies and gentlemen. These Scottish blacks are among us in the Americas, and we are ignorant of their existence as well as they are. It has been reported that in the African American community, a lot of blacks have Scottish and Irish last names. Okay, and so on page 24, he shows one of the Scottish coats of arms. And he's showing that particular crest with the names of Andrew, spelled two different ways, Collmore, Collmore, Eddington, Grantham, Mayor, Mair, Maynell, Moore, that shouldn't surprise us, Moore, then Moore, More, St. Lo, Well Done, Witterong, Wooton, Wootton. Okay, and he quotes this out of the book Fairburn, Book of Crest. Okay, so he was just giving you some of the surnames of the indigenous, not indigenous, of the Scots. Okay, that came over to. He's just giving you the name of the Scottish coat of arms, some of their surnames. But his point being that 10,000 were shipped over to the Americas, and they were scattered among Barbados, Boston, Charlestown, Cambridge, Concord, Hingham, Ipswich, Virginia, Newark, and the Southern Plantations.
That was 1685, right? So that would be about the same time they were capturing 10,000 Indians and shipping them off the land.
Right.
Because they did that yearly too. They shipped them to the islands.
Yep.
So they may have put those.
Sense, right?
Yeah, they must have put those Scottish blacks, as you want to call them, over the Indian blacks and made them slaves over there in the island.
Could have been, or it could have been, sis. They could have put them over the indigenous people of the Americas, or it could have been a combination, depending on the severity of your crime. They could have been classified as a indentured servant or slave.
Well, you know, when you look at the rulers of the Jamaicas, the melanated ones, they kind of have this right of reign kind of stuff like kings do. Because I saw one in a few.
You mentioned that because Jamaica comes up in here. But you go ahead on and say your little point, because that's exactly where I was going.
Because they have our people looking like us as rulers over the people over there. So I'm like, So as you were saying that, I'm like, okay, I can see how that happens. So they think they have the rulership and the right of a king to rule over the Jamaicans in Jamaica. And they become the governor of Jamaica and stuff like that. I think that's what they call them. I think that's what they call them over there.
And and still to this day, if I'm not mistaken, y'all, Jamaica still rolls up to Britain. Right. So this shit makes sense. It all lines the fuck up. And by the way, Jamaica was really known as Jamaica. And you're gonna get that in that Medicine Man YouTube video. So that's why I highly recommend it, family. It's worth its weight and the time that it'll take you to get that information. So we finna get on Jamaica, but right quick. So we talking about Oliver Cromwell. Okay, so remember, King Charles I got assassinated, and if you look at the promo of this series, I have a picture of King Charles in there. Okay, melanated man. So anyway, upon taking military command, and we're talking about Cromwell, and we're in Ireland. He invaded Ireland, and history states that he committed genocide in Ireland against the black population. The black Irish that he didn't kill, he sold into the slave trade. In 1641, Cromwell had 300,000 black Irish sold into North Atlantic slave trade. And in 1650, he had 100,000 Irish Scottish children sold into Barbados.
St. Thomas.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here is an interesting law that Cromwell published, and it reads, Oliver Cromwell's Etiquette 1653. Those who fail to transport themselves to Connaught or Clare within 6 months shall be guilty of high treason. You will then be sent into America or some other part beyond the sea. The Royal African Company, see y'all, this shit is motherfucking deep. The Royal African Company sent 249 ships to the West Indies, sending 60,000 African and Irish into the Americas and West Indies. Make no mistake about it. These people are here in the colonies with us. America is a huge colony spread out over 50 states, and we all have been mingled together. Okay, so again, just to recap, going back up above. Now, we talked about him shipping 10,000 from Leith to New York or East Jersey, my bad. So now he over in Ireland. These numbers are absolutely goddamn huge. So 300,000 black Irish, 1641. 1650, 100,000 Irish and Scottish children sold into Barbados. So then they erected, I told you that they had these companies when they started the colonization over in Africa, okay? So they didn't even give us a total breakdown of the number of the African slaves because they mixed that 60,000 in with the Irish. Okay, so it was, we don't know how many Africans were in that 60,000 mark that were sent to the Americas and West Indies. But what we show know that it was much less Africans than it was the melanated or quote black Europeans that were shipped over here.
You know, that Irish stuff, I think that's the root of Valentine's Day. When he killed the snake, I think that's how they used to say it. when he went in there and massacred all those Black Irish and shipped the rest of them to the different colonies or whatever he shipped them to. That's how Valentine's Day is. He was rewarded by the Pope, I think it was. Let me see. I'm trying to. Which Pope was that?
Which would make sense because that's what they was warring with.
Right. And he went over there and killed them all.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's how that instead of Valentine's Day being a love story like they say, it's a murder story.
Yeah, it's a massacre story.
A massacre story. Yikes. We're coming up on that.
Yeah, so it's just interesting, family. So, again, on page 27, he shows another coat of arms. This one is an Irish coat of arms of the Gilbert crest. Okay, so this is it. So that's a surname, last name of Gilbert, melanated name from Ireland. This is an image of a black Irish coat of arms from the Gilbert family. 3 of the Gilberts related to this coat of arms have been traced to Barbados. Thomas Gilbert, Barbados, 1635. Francis Gilbert, Virginia, 1736. And Robert Gilbert, Barbados, 1678. The timeline fits with the eyewitness account of the Irish being shipped into the slave trade. So he also goes into, let me see, because I had to break this up. These are some of the black Irish that came here on the ship directly from Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, the Scots/Irish or Welsh Brits are the same people. According to Boyd Dawkins, our earliest ancestors when the English invaded England in 1449 AD. Okay, so now let's break down the etymology. English invaded England in 449. Ish means kind of. That's what I was trying to get at. Invaded in 449 AD, they pushed the black English west into Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. Mr. Boyd Dawkins further states that by 677 AD, the whites, now called themselves English, have pushed these blacks onto a land that cannot sustain them. Whoever you are on the other side of this book, this is the real history of the world. What you have been taught and exposed to is pure nonsense. So where is he saying he get his source from? He was also saying that, they give us the garbage history, but in the meantime, they're researching using books like his, and this information is buried in the Royal Library and National Archives, which would make sense because if you go to the U.S. Corporation's archive, that's when you're going to see the true story of who the indigenous people really are as well. So in other words, they teach one doctrine to the public, but the real documentation is in archives or in other research that you have to do yourself. And the ultimate records are more than likely with the Vatican. Okay. So what else did I want to point out here? Oh, we only had 10 minutes. Dang it. That's okay. So we'll go back. We'll pick up next week. Let me see, page 31. Okay, so sis, this goes back to here's where we're going to discuss your wipeout of the Black Irish. Let's see. Let me see. know it, discuss it. I'm trying to get to it. Okay. I'm on page 32. And he has wonderful pictures in here, family, showing, just so you all know, his sources are the Irish Library. Gives the history of the Irish Rebellion of 1641. And he shows a picture of clearly a melanated man because he got a short hair to his head that's truly nappy, okay, and the full lips, okay. So they literally documented the rebellion or the massacre of the melanated Irish Rebellion of 1641. So his source is the Irish Library. Okay. All right. And so here we go. I'm on page 36. The Black Irish that came into Jamaica, or Jamaica, had two places of origin, either Ireland or Barbados. Close to 300,000 Black Irish came directly from Ireland, and the rest came from Barbados. Okay, so I'm going to read that again. The Black Irish that came into Jamaica had two places of origin, either Ireland or Barbados. Close to 300,000 Black Irish came directly from Ireland, and the rest came from Barbados, okay? So we already knew that they were shipping folks from Europe to Barbados, okay? So they were playing the shifting game. So it was no different from when folks that do the research on the alleged slave ship manifest, because that's what this brother in this book did as well. He looked at the slave ship manifest and followed where they were shipping people. In the Americas, we saw the same thing, where they were shifting our indigenous ancestors from the coast within the Americas. So in other words, taking people from the original 13 colonies, putting them in the southern colonies, or taking some of the people from the southern colonies, putting them up north, Illinois and Ohio and all of that jazz, which it wasn't called that back then, and or taking them and putting them in what we call the Caribbean. Okay, so the Barbados and Jamaica. So they were doing the same exact thing with the melanated Europeans, okay, shipping them, but particularly most of them hit the Caribbean islands. So I'm going to pause there. We're going to pick back up next week. But I'm just going to once again leave the family with that statement that Noble Drew Ali said, that the Negro in America has his foot on two lands. Hopefully we're getting a picture why he is saying that. Okay? So, with that said, I'm going to do last words. Sister, you have any last words for the family?
No, I didn't take it over the show. I'm gonna
no, you've been good. You've been good. It's all good.
So I'm just, everything is coming together. The shifting around and taking them around and moving them here and put them there, then bring them back and put them over here. Yeah, and it's just land grabbing. Because when you're absent from the land, then they take your possessions. That's that dumb diversus stuff. When they came over here and settled into this land, by them being absent from their land, the kings took their lands over there.
Yep.
It's just land grabbing, stealing.
Yep. So, Brother Sean, thanks. Brother Sean, you having any last words for the family?
Hit us up on our Facebook page. We can continue the discussion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to thank the family. We're going to pick back up with the series next week. Still a lot of stuff I didn't get to cover. If you can, check out Medicine Man's video about the letter J. I highly recommend it. He's also going to break down that whole Four Corners monument. Sis Cheryl sent me an email with it, but we were caught in the material. I didn't get a chance to read over it. We'll go over that next week. I do want to thank the family for being so patient with us, for your support, for being on this journey with us. And thank you to our family callers, Brother 832. You always come in and drop some heavy knowledge. Thank you so much to our first-time caller, our beautiful millennial. Thank you so much, sis, for calling in. We appreciate that. And thank you to Sister Dorier. I really appreciate you for sharing your story with the family. So, family, thank you all. Love you very much. I truly, truly appreciate your support. Yes, brother.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to address that for Brother 832 when he asked me about legal or whatever.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Legal or lawful?
Legal is part of the system. There's only one law, and that's universal law.
That's right.
So we got to let all of that go. Legal, all that's a part of legal ease. That's all their terminology.
That language.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's why them motherfuckers was stumbling when sis said that psychiatrist said she's indigenous to this land.
That's funny.
So,
hey,
all right, family. So,
what'd
you say, Brother Sean?
Also on that, that's just them trying to play nice all of a sudden. Then all of a sudden we are all filing there saying this, that, and the other. That'll get us to start making appearances and playing along with the game instead of getting along with getting rid of the system, period. But we don't have to say none of that to them.
Agreed. Because we're not supposed to be in their court any motherfucking way. Let's start with that. So, but very, very good point, Brother Sean. But it's all going away anyway. So we'll be back next week, family, with Forgotten Black Nobility and the Americas Part 3.